about having confidence in your touch and your passing, which Man City that seems to have disappeared from them over the last weeks and months. So this is a great test. Having said that, they have to win. They've put themselves in a position where they have to win every game now.
City.
City have to win every game. Palace could round off a really good week, really strong week, by getting something from this. That's about the most I can say, getting something. Don't know what it'll be, but if they could nick a point, that would be wonderful.
Well, that would certainly set the tempo, if you like, for the rest of the campaign from a City point of view and from a Palace point of view. A reminder earlier, Lincoln 0, Charlton 0 it finished, and Wigan 0, Leyton Orient 2. Reaction from those games on the way here on BBC Radio London. But the referee with a sharp blast on his whistle, and away we go in South London on BBC Radio London, with Manchester City attacking the Holmesdale end of the ground as Crystal Palace come forward with Mateta inside the box already. Chance for Palace, he's been forced wide. It's gone out for a corner, has it? No, it's been scrambled away. Mateta already starting to throw his weight around inside the penalty area. City can't clear it. Palace has started really positively. Here's Eze halfway inside the City half of the field. They've gone back to halfway, and Guéhi, but my goodness, Mateta scored the winner against Ipswich and looked problematic for Manchester City inside the City box in the opening moments.
Well, Ismaila Sarr wins the first ball, and Mateta's onto it. Ruben Diaz does really well to stop him and not allow him to shoot, but that's something to just keep an eye on. Maybe played a little bit more direct, looking at the second balls, putting Manchester City's defence under pressure.
Well, Palace have, after that rather explosive start, retreated into their own half of the field momentarily, and Chalobah gets it back to Dean Henderson away to our left. We spoke to him after the game at Portman Road, and he said that, well, today they just need to go out and try and seize the opportunity, to be honest with you, get the fans on side
when the opportunity comes.
Yeah,
wait, just cut out any errors, keep it tight, play for that one opportunity, and hopefully that'll be enough.
Núñez is playing on the left-hand side for City, with Haaland through the middle and Savinho on the right. Bernardo Silva is on the right flank, and they were just sort of tucked in actually alongside Ilkay Gundogan. So that's how City are framing up. Here's Rico Lewis coming forward, who's playing at left back. There was a suggestion in some quarters that he'd be playing in sort of a City midfield position, but that doesn't appear to be the case. And here's Ruben Diaz on the halfway line. City's first little spell of possession a couple of minutes into this game. Good travelling support from Manchester on the far side in the Arthur Way. And the wind is blustery. The ball is on the floor at the moment, but the assistant referee's flag on this near side is kicking up a treat. Out wide it goes to this left-hand side, and the former Sporting Lisbon player, Matheus Núñez, back to Gvardiol just outside the centre circle, and City just taking this opportunity to spend a little bit of time on the football. They were slightly rattled by that start. Is Kyle Walker back in the side today, into the feet of Bernardo Silva, who moves out to the right-hand side for City, into Savinho, cuts in field. He's going to sweep this from right to left. Núñez picks it up, corner of the Palace box, wants to go on the outside of Munoz, and he clips in what I think was probably supposed to be a cross, but it sails over Henderson's goal frame and goes out for a goal kick. 3 minutes gone, 0-0.
And from Palace starting really strongly, you could see Man City just take over and control possession. Núñez's cross wasn't great, but the way they switch the ball with ease, Núñez gets down the wing, will clip a better crossing as time goes by. Just things again for Palace to watch out for, and that's why for me they've got to play a little bit more direct and go and play in Man City's half.
Well, they're playing out here, Crystal Palace, with Lerma, who's forced back towards his own corner flag. Guéhi lifts it high into the swirling Selhurst sky. It's controlled by Mateta initially, then he has his pocket picked by Ilkay Gundogan. The ball comes back to Gundogan, it drops to Hughes. Here's Sarr, back to goal, holds this up rather nicely, tries to bring in other Palace players. Hughes will send it wide. There's no flag here against Munoz inside the box. Munoz scores! The flag stays down, and Crystal Palace are in front with less than 4 minutes on the clock. An explosive pass by Hughes, and Munoz just tore away from Lewis into the box, kept his head low past the City goalkeeper. We wondered what sort of an afternoon we were in store for. And Daniel Munoz, with his second Palace goal, has just set the agenda. It's Crystal Palace 1, Manchester City 0.
Well, first of all, there might be a slight bit of offside in this. But what's basically happened is there was a little bit of play in the middle of the pitch where the ball was kept changing hands. Rico Lewis at left back has got his back to Munoz and he's creeping towards his centre-half colleague and he doesn't see him. He's got his back. Munoz can see his number, can see Rico Lewis's number 82. He can't see when Munoz makes that run, and it's because sometimes when you play half a dozen different positions, the basic defending, which is what he needed, see the ball, see the man, see the pass and be able to defend properly, couldn't do it.
Game restarts, the goal's given. Palace lead 1-0 on BBC Radio London. What a start! And Hughes again just dumped it the other side of Lewis, and Palace are off again. Will Hughes,
but this
like
is what
a
we've got to
golfer,
do.
is just dropping these balls over the back line.
As I've said, go and play in Man City's half, because you're asking them to do things ordinarily they don't have to do, which is defend for long periods. They don't have to do that. De Bruyne, people like De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Savinho, they don't want to be chasing the ball about. So if you make them do that by playing in their half, make them run back towards their own goal. And look at what it's done for them, for Palace.
Another long ball forward. What, they don't like it. Why not? It's headed away this time by Gvardiol. Drops onto the halfway line, and Haaland, I think that's his first touch, then hoisted out to the flank, and Nunez. What a extraordinary start to this game. And you're very welcome to it. This is warming the Palace fans up, and it's a horrid day out there, it really is. But if they're going to start like this, well, who knows where the afternoon will take us on the home of London football. This is BBC Radio London, and if you're late joining us, if you were sorting the bins outside, or clearing some detritus off your car, or trying to find out where that trampoline's gone, you won't know. Palace are in front. Here's Savinho on that right side. City will of course respond. There is a long way to go. Here is De Bruyne, plays it in for Haaland. Great save by Henderson at point blank range. He stayed down, Henderson. I think it might have hit him in the face, but Haaland with a presentable chance in front of goal, and Henderson got his nose to it and kept it out.
Well, for me, again, as a passer, it's the pass. The pass is delicious. Cuts the goalkeeper out. It's a beautiful pass. I've got to say, from De Bruyne. Turns, and it's one of those, if he overhits it or underhits it, it doesn't do what it's just done. And he's just hit it straight. And it's the keeper's out quick, and it smashes him in the face. But Henderson, I think, does that a lot. Gets out quick. Unfortunately, gets hit in the face a lot. But great save. Still
1-0. That's the bottom line.
That's it. But Palace, be warned. Be warned.
Yeah, just because they've scored doesn't mean they're going to win this football.
Doesn't mean anything.
Let's go to the Wham Stadium and Mark Taylor.
Accrington 0, Bromley 1. Michael Cheek for the Ravens with his 10th league goal of the season. He slotted home after a dribbling run forward from Cameron Congreve. Accrington 0, Bromley 1.
Just getting the chance. Go on, Mark. There was just
effort that hits the post, goes in, and would you believe it, Stanley a level. Shot from the left, leaves Grant Smith totally rooted to the ground. The ball hits the post, bounces in. It's Accrington 1, Bromley 1.
Goodness me, thank you very much indeed, Mark. So, a couple of goals there. Daniel Munoz, of course, equalised in like the 94th minute against Newcastle in Palace's last home game, and then he scored 4 minutes into the start of the next game. So he's essentially scored 2 goals in 5 minutes.
Very good finish, this one.
It was a brilliant. I mean, there's a man who'd already got the kind of the issue off his back of scoring his first goal, having missed a sitter against Newcastle. The reason we're not telling you about any action is because Dean Henderson is taking his time, having been whacked. Well, when I say whacked in the face, having produced a fine save for Crystal Palace to keep this score at 1-0. But you are legitimately allowed to take your time, I think, if you've been boosted in the face by Erling Haaland. Henderson goes downfield. The target once again is Mateta. This ball's in the air for a long time. Flicked on, headed back to Ortega. Oh, he spilt it and he's gathered it in a second attempt. Eze and Sarr putting those City defenders under all sorts of pressure. Still 1-0. Goal at the G-Tech. Here's Phil Parry.
Now Brentford have taken the lead, having seen Longstaff battle against the crossbar for Newcastle United on 2 minutes. Bryan Mbeumo latching onto a delicious crossfield ball, cutting in off the right-hand side, just inside the penalty area, hitting top bins with his left peg. Brentford 1, Newcastle United 0.
How are you suffering with the conditions, Phil? Are you dry?
Ish. It's blustery, the rain has stopped, but we've got paper towels everywhere.
Oh no! You see, bless Phil, he's been on air now for an hour and 10 minutes and he's not really mentioned how uncomfortable it is because he's got on with it because he's a pro, but we are able to say that he's probably having a really horrible time. So we thank Phil for his dedication and his paper towels.
Can I just say, you're not supposed to smile and laugh when you're saying that about Phil.
You've ruined that. I was being really generous to
joking.
a fellow professional, and you have just thrown. That's awful. Oh.
I apologise. I'm apologising.
80 more minutes of this, honestly.
I'm apologising.
Never mind, Paul Parker. That's fine. Here comes City, who trail Palace by a goal to 0. It's the last time I'm nice about a colleague, honestly. There are some of our colleagues who are having rotten days when it comes to the conditions, and we wish everybody well. And honestly, you don't want to be plugged into a piece of electrical equipment in this weather. I can assure you of that. Here comes City again, just kind of. They're taking every opportunity, Paul, to slow the game down.
Exactly
City,
right. They want to do it on their terms, and Palace can't allow them to do that. Because what tends to happen is when they start to pass the ball and frighten the opposition, you kind of take a step back. And if you look at where De Bruyne is playing, how, just in behind Haaland, he's the one who gets the space. They find him, and they've got to really stop Man City controlling possession, because they'll get the ball to De Bruyne, and look at what happens with Haaland when he does get the ball to De Bruyne.
Well, they've already had one chance with Haaland sending his effort into the face of Dean Henderson. This is going to go back to Diaz on the halfway line for City, who have had a little spell of possession. They're not doing a great deal with it, and again I think Palace are just waiting for the opportunity to win the ball back and try and pop the ball behind the back four, but that opportunity hasn't presented itself in the last minute or so. Diaz funnels this forward. Here's De Bruyne, and he releases Núñez down the left-hand side. 2 in the box. A low cross coming in that eludes everybody. Goes out to Savinho on that right-hand side, edge of the box. Sets it for Gundogan, who drives it. Blocked by Lerma, who gets his body in the way. Let's go to Wetherby Road and Chris Sykes.
And AFC Wimbledon have the lead. Harrogate Town 0, AFC Wimbledon 1. It's Josh Kelly who's given them the lead. Ball played into the penalty area, headed out as far as Kelly, and his deflected effort from the edge of the area found the back of the net. Harrogate 0, Wimbledon 1.
Here comes City, 1-0 down. Low cross by Núñez, cleared away by Chalobah. Out for a corner to City, their first of the game, and we'll go back to a soggy G-Tech and Phil.
Goodness gracious me, well, they know this is the capital of entertainment when it comes to goals, and Newcastle United back on level terms just a couple of minutes after Bryan Mbeumo had given Brentford the lead. Jacob Murphy has got an equaliser here. There were muted celebrations initially because the Newcastle fans didn't think they'd score, but they're back on level terms, 1 apiece.
Here's the corner for City down their left-hand side. De Bruyne raises his right arm. They push the central defenders forward. This is a dangerous effort that's flicked wide in the end. Gvardiol met it and tried to guide it into the top corner, but it sailed well over Dean Henderson's crossbar, and it's going to be a goal kick. We've had 12 and a half minutes here on BBC Radio London, and it's Crystal Palace 1, Manchester City 0. Tomorrow we've got Fulham, Arsenal and Tottenham against Chelsea. And on Monday evening with Aaron Paul, we're live from 6 at London Stadium for West Ham against Wolves. Whoever loses that one might be getting the sack. Extraordinary that both those managers seem to be on their last chance for that game. Here, Guardiola against Glasner is already pretty fascinating, to be honest with you. Now it's Palace's turn to knock it around at the back. Chalobah manages to pick out Lerma in some space. No one's dealt with him, and again they just dropped it out to that left-hand side, and Mitchell sends that against Walker, who scurries back to the touchline. He's managed to dig that out. As he knows, Palace have won it back. They're working very hard on that side of the field. Here's Eze, dink cross, Mateta tries to get on the end of it, and it goes through to Ortega. They're busy, Palace, aren't they, in that area of the pitch?
I think that what they did really well was they lost it in the attacking third and worked to won it back straight away. You know, because ordinarily that's where, in transition, that's where Man City are dangerous. But they won it back straight away, and you know, Eze nearly created a good chance for Mateta.
Yes, City can be like 3 passes away from the edge of the other box, can't
exactly
they?
Right. And I still think that De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva have to be watched, and they can't back off. You know, Palace's attack, midfield and defence have to all be very close to each other, because if you allow De Bruyne space, he is capable of, like you said, capable of creating chances for Haaland and scoring himself, and it just looks like slowly Man City are beginning to get a little bit of a stranglehold on possession. Yeah,
they're just keeping the ball a lot at the moment, City. They're not always doing an enormous amount with it, but it's almost just a statement of intent. No, we will have the ball, you will have it fleetingly. Well, you can try and hurt us during those fleeting periods, but they won't be very long.
You see, what they're waiting for is a Palace player to lose concentration, and then there's a gap to exploit, and that, you know, they're the best at doing that.
Núñez steps in field, there's a shout for handball against him, and the referee agrees. Mr. Jones, who's in charge today. There was a VAR check for offside, but it was a speedy one because he was on Núñez. We very, very briefly got shown a VAR replay, but we didn't see any lines drawn or anything. The goal stood very quickly. There was no suggestion really at all from any of the on-field officials that there was the remotest doubt that Crystal Palace had indeed taken the lead. Long ball forward for Palace again, the long aerial target, and they want to throw in high up the pitch. Munoz is going to take it, the goal scorer, level with the edge of the City penalty area, goes back to Chalobah, and Lacroix on the halfway line. Let's call in at the Den. Millwall Coventry, how's it going, Emily Herbert?
Well, it's still 0-0 as it stands, 15 minutes in. The ball did find itself in the back of the net, a corner kick-in swinger from Brian, but the referee Thomas Bramwell said nope, there was a foul against the Lions inside the box, and play continues. 15 minutes on the clock, it's Millwall 0, Coventry 0.
Palace really trying to put the City defence under the cosh there, but they do eventually clear back to Henderson away to our left hand side. Let's go to Loftus Road. How are QPR getting on against Norwich? Jacob Culshaw.
QPR 0, Norwich City 0. Nick, this game really hasn't sparked into life, but a bit of injury news and injury woes continue for Queen's Park Rangers. Zancella going down with a hamstring injury. He's been replaced by Ryan Colley, the right winger, to start up front. You've got to feel for Marty Cifuentes. It remains QPR 0, Norwich City 0.
Thank you, Jacob. Still 1-0 to Crystal Palace here. They have it at the back and they're trying to spend a bit of time on the ball. Granted, they're doing it inside their own penalty area, which will make some Palace fans a shade nervous. Here's Chalobah on the touchline, battling with Núñez. Munoz comes across and lifts it clear. The target is Mateta, but just stepping in to win it back is İlkay Gündoğan. And then Hughes has dispossessed him. And there might be a bit of space here for Eze to use if he can get going over the halfway line. He's been closed down by Bernardo Silva. That's a lovely pass that almost finds Munoz sprinting down the right. I don't know how he spotted that, but he did see the chance to release Munoz on that side again, just as Hughes did for the goal. This was over here and out of play for a goal kick.
Yeah, I'm going to be slightly critical. He could do better than that. That was a sloppy pass.
Okay,
I see him. He sees it early, comes in, but he's off balance when he strikes the ball, which is why he drags it a bit.
See, that's why they don't let me go to games on my own. Paul, you're here to inject a little bit of sanity. Here's De Bruyne skipping into the box, rolls it across the face of goal, and I think Haaland trod on it as he tried to control it. About 16 yards from goal. The home fans enjoyed that. Hughes and Munoz combining. This goes out for a throw-in.
Well, I tell you what, there's the red flags, there's the warning signs. The warning signs into Haaland. Really good supporting run from De Bruyne. He sets it to De Bruyne, Haaland's off again, and it's just them two. It's just them two.
It really is,
no one else, just them two. So, but getting the ball into them, it seems to be, is a little bit too easy. And the Palace got to do more.
Yeah, the Palace just launch it again, and it might drop to Sarr. Lewis has got Sarr all over it. Oh, I'm not sure.
It's a foul. He just pulls him down to the ground, and also, unfortunately, Rico Lewis is tiny, so there's going to be the little guy's sympathy vote. Of course,
they are picking on him.
Of course, they are. They're really trying to. I mean, he's a tough nut. He's a good player as well.
But he is seen, I think, as a weak link in what is essentially a weak link riddled City backline, because they are just popping these. They're using Storm Dara to their advantage at the moment, Crystal Palace. They're just clipping the ball over the top time and again, worrying those, because the ball is moving in the air, and there was one City defender, I think it was Gvardiol, was getting ready to head it, and the ball just landed next to him, because the flight of the ball just changed in front of his eyes.
Well, you've got to use these tactics and use them well, and you know it's working for Palace as long as they get enough bodies in and around, you know, Rico Lewis and Gvardiol when the ball's played up there. Then you know they can make it count.
I think that's the key, isn't it? Just having the personnel in the right areas. They're giving it away here, City on the halfway line. Sarr into Mateta, back to Sarr, moving forward. He's got Eze to his left. Sarr finds Eze, left edge of the box. He's got options in the 6-yard area now. He's going to send this in low, and it's turned behind by Diaz at the near post. There were Palace players queuing up the score behind him. It's a Crystal Palace corner.
Well, you love the way Palace play. They win the ball on the halfway line and they're off, and it's Mateta who I think is a much better player than people give him credit for. Really good feet into him, set back to Sarr out to Eze, and he's in the box just on the left hand side, and then it's about decisions. Swivels well, crosses blocked. It's good play from Palace when they win the ball in transition.
Eze with the corner, right footed, it'll swing in. Lacroix is forward, and this comes in, and it's helped on by Munoz. Drops to Sarr, who gets right underneath it and blazes over from 17 yards. He was under no pressure. He's got to hit the target from there.
As a manager and a coach, that would irritate me, because what I'd be telling my players is, on the edge of the box, be ready to shoot. And he was not ready. He just was not. You've got to believe it's going to pop out at some point. When the ball's in the air, you've got to be anticipating. If it comes, I've got to be ready to hit it first time, and he just wasn't.
No, and that's, I mean, we've talked so many times already, since 2 o'clock, about Crystal Palace taking the opportunities as and when they present themselves. And they, to be fair to Daniel Munoz, he absolutely did that, and to the same extent Ismaila Sarr absolutely did not. There's a bouncing ball from Chalobah back to Henderson in this weather, and he volleys it clear, flicked on by Sarr. That's a handball by Mateta.
He's played on I see the assistant referee here say it was chest.
Not given, that looked like a handball to me.
It did to me. Well, only the one end. That's probably why.
Be reasonable. Here's Mitchell on the left. Palace coming forward again, leading by a goal to nil with 20 minutes gone. There's 20 minutes of race by, I have to say.
But Eze's got to do more for me. You haven't name-checked him much.
Not really, no.
He's the catalyst. He's their De Bruyne, but they've got to get him on the ball more.
Hughes funnels it forward to Eze, who's onside, and he hasn't shot yet, but he has now, and he took too long, and the flag went up anyway. He's just over. In fact, Oliver Glasser said this in the pre-match chat before Newcastle. Eze is overthinking, and that was a classic piece of deliberation. He should have just, I mean, he was off anyway, so it wouldn't have counted.
But wonderful play.
But the beautiful part, a beautiful combination.
Well, you see, the problem he had was when he controlled it on his left foot, he should have let it out on his left side and took it with his left. He's controlled it and moved it to his right foot, which allows defenders to get back in. So you've got to be able to just one-touch finish, and he took too long.
Stop thinking, Ebereche, start doing. Which, from the comfort of the press box here at Sellers Park, is an incredibly easy thing to say.
Good at that.
Yeah, and absolutely. Well, mate, I've been 20 years of being employed doing just that, or not doing, talking about it. You see, that's well, it's a living. Let's go to Loftus Road and Jacob Culshaw.
QPR 1, Norwich City 0, Nick, and it's Jimmy Dunn poking home. Nicholas Madsen floating a ball into the corner. There's a scramble in the penalty area, and Dunn was there into the top left-hand corner. QPR 1, Norwich City 0.
Thank you very much, Jacob. A little bit of a celebration from our resident hoop to my left. That will be a very big win where QPR are able to cut. I mean, any win would be a big win for QPR at the moment. Here's Gundogan through the middle of the field. Now Lewis gets it wide to Nunez on that left-hand side. He's going to shift the ball back in field. Gundogan clips it back over the top down the left. Nunez chases it, keeps it alive. Here's De Bruyne. In comes the cross, headed away by Lacroix by his own 6-yard box. Towards goal and off the post. It's going to come out now, and another effort goes wide from Bernardo Silva. Savinho hits the post with a drilled effort that went through a forest of... Gundogan hits the post rather. A drilled effort that goes through a forest of legs. And then the reaction, I think, was from Bernardo Silva as it came out to him. But City comes so close to equalising. It's Savinho who curls his effort well wide.
Yeah, and for for a player with the touch that he's got. Bernardo Silva's first touch was terrible. It literally took him away from the goal. But we're right behind Gundogan, and I'm sitting there going, that's in. But it's almost like it was in, and then it bobbled and hit the post. It bobbled wide and hit the post. Palace, another warning sign for them. They've got to do the ugly stuff and get that right. It's not quite right at the moment. Every time Man City do get time on the ball, they're dangerous.
The Palace need another goal. That's a lovely flick
without a doubt.
by Eze to try and release Sarr through the middle, and it's broken up. Lerma was involved as well. Aston Villa 1, Southampton 0 in the Premier League. And we're going to go back to the suitably named Wetherby Road today. Harrogate AFC Wimbledon, Chris Sykes.
And AFC Wimbledon have doubled the lead. Harrogate 0, AFC Wimbledon 2. John Joe O'Toole heading the ball towards goal. He took a touch off the Harrogate player before going into the back of the net. But Wimbledon leading Harrogate by 2-0.
Hughes with a shot, saved by a tumbling Diaz. Out for a corner. Will Hughes is having a productive afternoon.
He wins the ball on the halfway line, reads the pass, and he just keeps running, and it opens up for him. And I'm just thinking he's going to pass this into the corner of the net. It looked like great block from a defender, but that's what they've got to do, Palace. They've got to make it difficult, and they've got to intercept well. They've got to anticipate and read things well.
Hasn't scored since May of last year, Will Hughes for Crystal Palace. Here's their second corner of the game, which Eze is going to take on the far side. Right-footed, swung in, and clears. Poor corner by Eze, cleared away by De Bruyne at the near post. Mitchell has sent that up into the sky. It's going to drop to Lerma. Is he going to be able to dig this out to Eze on that flank? No, he's gone back infield to Hughes. Wide to the right, and Sarr. Sarr's got Munoz to his right, the goal scorer. Goes back to Will Hughes now, halfway inside the City half of the field. It was John Duran who scored for Aston Villa, by the way, against Southampton. They lead 1-0.
This is a bit I can't work out. They go from a crossable position. You know, Lacroix's up front. They're big up front, and within 5 passes gone back to their goalkeeper. You've got to take a risk every now and again, and that's risk-free football.
Yeah.
It just irritates me, I've got to say. Then they pump it up the pitch and give it right back to. I don't understand. It just doesn't make sense to me, that kind of football.
Possession is fear, Paul, isn't it? You mustn't lose possession. Whatever you do in that school of thought, you must not lose possession. Having said that, of course, they punted it long and it's gone all the way through.
But that seems to be an acceptable way of losing possession. It does. No one says anything. They're in a position where they could have crossed the ball, give it to Munoz, cross it in the box, and cause Man City a problem, but they choose not to.
It's not as though Palace haven't carried a threat. They certainly have. Here's Haaland, and then he tries to give it back to De Bruyne. It's cleared by Chalobah, and again this bouncing ball is causing all sorts of problems in Mateta. And Mateta, has he got goal side there of Diaz? No, Diaz stretches and heads it away from Mateta. Now Bernardo Silva crosses the halfway line, wide to Savinho. In goes Mitchell with the challenge, out for a throw-in to City halfway inside the Palace half.
And I'm loving this. Palace have got to learn that long ball. Look at the trouble it's causing, and all he needs, Mateta, is another midfielder to get up there with him.
Yeah,
because he's causing them problems. They don't know what to do. The ball is swirling in the air. It's a tool they could use.
Well, the point of Sarr and Eze as playing, because they're not supposed to be wide players, that's Munoz and Mitchell's job, I believe. At any rate, the point of Sarr and Mateta is to get up there, quite narrow, get up there and get on the end of these flicks.
But they're not anticipating. See, the minute the ball goes long, don't even think, just run and see if you can get on anywhere around where the ball might pop out, because if it does, you're literally going to be 1v1, and with the talent that you've got, the pace you've got, the intelligence you've got, you may create something.
27 minutes played in the first half. This is BBC Radio London, live at Selhurst Park on a cold, wet, rainy, blustery day. And Oliver Glasner, who's overseen a little upturn in fortunes recently. We talked about the pressure he was on, but 1 defeat in 7 in all competitions, a victory at Portman Road on Tuesday, a League Cup quarter-final to enjoy in a couple of weeks as Palace try and come forward, but that's rolled back, I think, by Bernardo Silva. Yeah. Kyle Walker has to shoot back inside his own half at pace to win that back for City, and they'll try and build again. Gundogan drops into the back four and picks it up, wants to drive City forward. He's already hit the post. He's clipped this out wide to Nunez, and then Lewis is dispossessed initially, and then, well, Rico is being isolated once again, and Munoz has got away from him, and he's fed Sarr, and Mateta waits. Here's Mateta, sends it, Lerma shoots, it's blocked! It's blocked by Diaz, the goal gate in front of Jefferson Lerma. Palace should have hit the target and might even be 2-0 up.
Again, it's a wonderful block, wonderful bit of play. You know, Munoz is bullying Rico Lewis here. It's the physical aspect. Out to Sarr, pulls a beautiful ball back. Mateta, I think, is going to swivel and shoot, doesn't, sets it up. And I think, is it Sarr again? It's a wonderful block
it's
from
Lerma who had the shot.
Yeah, Lerma, wonderful block from Diaz. Wonderful bit of defending that keeps the score at 1-0.
1-0 Palace, City on the move. This is where they can be so dangerous. De Bruyne gets it back to Walker on the halfway line. We're going to go to Brentford again in a second, but when City are in this situation, they can be such a threat. Palace's lead can look ever so slightly fragile. Here's Nunez on the left, infield now to Lewis, who from a defensive point of view is getting picked on relentlessly, and Munoz has kind of got him on toast at the moment in those circumstances. Here's Diaz, they're working it from left to right, City being patient, Palace being assiduous in their defensive work, but they've got to keep it up, because once, as Paul Mortimer's been saying, one slip, one error, you put your foot in the wrong place and City will have you. Here's Nunez with a cross towards the far post. Haaland shoots and Haaland heads it into the net. The flag has stayed down. It is 1-1 here. The ball was floated towards the far post and Haaland peeled away, met the header back across Henderson, and it nestled into the back of the net. We've had almost half an hour and City are back on terms. Crystal Palace 1, Manchester City 1.
Classic number 9 play. Classic number 9 play. Ball comes out this side, I think it's to Nunez, and as you can see, as he turns to play it, Haaland is on the back of Guehi, who cannot see him. A little bit like Rico Lewis with the Man City goal. He cannot see Haaland, who's, to be honest, meat and drink from there for the number 9, just eases it into the far corner.
Great header, 1-1. Let's go to Brentford and Phil Parry.
Brentford back ahead after Isak had cancelled out Mbeumo's goal early in this half, given away by Lewis Hall into the middle of the Newcastle United half of the pitch. Whistle latched onto it, drove towards the edge of the penalty area, gave Nick Pope no chance. Brentford 2, Newcastle 1.
15 first half minutes to go, 1-1 at Selhurst Park on BBC Radio London. Munoz with the opener for Palace, Haaland with the equaliser. Here come Palace once again. Another ball forward looking for Eze, but it skips away from him and goes through to Ortega. Some of those missed chances for Palace now start to look a bit glaring.
I did say at the start, when you play against the better teams, you have to take your chances when they come along. You have to, because you know, look at that one bit of quality and the game's different. And they'll liven up Man City.
They've got something to fasten on to now. Lerma's been fouled by Savinho. The referee's coming across just to say you can't be doing too many more of them. And it is, as I said, a free kick just inside City territory. Palace have still looked lively going forward, though.
They've looked great.
Yeah.
They've looked great going forward, but again, they've had these warnings as time's gone on. Too much time and space. They've got to keep focused on the ugly stuff, shuffling across, getting tight, denying space. They've got to make sure that they keep focusing on that.
Now they're going to send this long, Palace, and again it's because of the conditions. I think normally this free kick will be quickly taken, off you go, but they are going to stick this in the mixer from the halfway line.
High line
over it, very high line by City. The line's 40 yards from goal. The wind is buffeting the players' shirts,
and you overhit this one.
Eze is going to launch it long, and the target's Lacroix, and he stretches for it, and he almost meets it, but it goes out for a goal kick. Right, let's go elsewhere. First to Brentford, another goal, Phil Parry.
Yeah, they just can't hold on to leads, can they? Brentford 2-2 with Newcastle. Murphy again with the assist. Barnes, well, it was under sevens defending from Brentford that let him get acres of space inside the penalty area and squeeze it in at the far post. Brentford 2, Newcastle 2.
City trying to play out, and this time after a bit of work they've just about got away with it. Palace really tried to lock them down, but they found a way through. Here's good, although having said that, they've now slowed down. Palace retreated into their own half of the field, and Ruben Diaz has it and is trying to shuffle the ball forward. The trouble is when Palace get pushed back, it's moments like this that led to the equaliser.
This is where they need to be urgent and focused.
Got to get this ball back. Here's Nunez, who sent the cross in for the goal. Gets closed down on that side of the field. Gundogan in a more central spot, back out to Nunez. We're going to go to Emily at Millwall in a second. Here's Gundogan again. rolls it square. Diaz wide to the right, and Bernardo Silva, who wants to run at Mitchell, sends it back into the feet of Kyle Walker, who's got forward, rolled square, and they just shuffle Palace back and shuffle Palace back. And so the last time they did this, City scored. Here's De Bruyne, left-hand side, swings in a cross, claimed by Henderson. Let's go to Millwall. Emily Herbert.
Well, it's Millwall 0, Coventry City 0. Fairly level at the Den. Good chances for either side as Sakamoto sent one into the box. It's cleared away by Millwall and given a free kick. But Millwall playing some nice flowing football. Femi Aziz, who scored the last-minute leveller last time out, making himself known on the far wing. 33 minutes on the clock. It's Millwall 0, Coventry City 0.
Still 1-1 here at Selhurst Park. Here's Sarr on the halfway line, back to Hughes, who bangs into Nunez, but he's not, well, I was going to say he's not done much wrong. He slightly undercooks that back pass to Henderson, who then launches it long, and the wind this time has carried this through to Ortega. Let's go to Loftus Road. QPR leading. Last we heard from Jacob Colshaw.
And that still remains the case, Nick. It's QPR 1, Norwich City 0. Jimmy Dunn's a strike. Yeah, it was a scramble in the penalty area. He poked it into the top left-hand corner and produced a heroic tackle at the other end to stop Borja Sainz. But Norwich are going into this one. It's almost half-time. QPR 1, Norwich City 0.
Let's go to the Wham Stadium. Accrington Stanley against Bromley. Mark Taylor.
9 minutes to go to the interval. It's still Accrington 1, Bromley 1. The game settled down after those early goals from Michael Cheek and Ben Woods. It's become a real midfield tussle. Accrington 1, Bromley 1.
And Harrogate AFC Wimbledon is being watched by Chris Sykes.
And it's still Harrogate 0, AFC Wimbledon 2. Josh Kelly and John Shaw Till with their first league goals of the campaign. AFC Wimbledon in complete control of this one. All the more impressive as they're playing into a gale force wind. Harrogate 0, Wimbledon 2.
Thank you, Chris. There are some tricky weather conditions around the country today. We know that the southwest of England and Wales has been hit very hard, and parts of the west of England as well. Our best wishes to all affected. Hopefully those of you who decided not to brave the weather out there today are enjoying our coverage of Crystal Palace 1, Manchester City 1. Hughes has to step in again for Palace, turns it down the channel, charging after it is Sarr. Gvardiol hooks it away from danger. Lewis collects deep inside his own half of the field, offloads swiftly to Bernardo Silva, again into the City territory, but able to come forward and get it wide to Walker on that right flank. Savinho gets it back to Bernardo Silva, and that metronomic City passing style kicks into gear once again with 9 first half minutes to go. It is 1-1. If you missed it earlier, Daniel Munoz put Palace in front with only his second Palace goal after just 4 minutes. Haaland equalising just before the half hour. Palace have had other chances. City have hit the post as well through Gundogan. It's been a very lively and interesting opening half an hour or so here as Nunez gets it back to Diaz. I thought one of those Palace players was going to be able to pinch possession, but that's where they've caused so many problems. Palace, when they've won the ball from City on the halfway line. Equally, this is where City have been pretty devastating, when they just kind of grind Palace into the dirt, or the mud perhaps should be more appropriate today. This goes out for a throw in the City on the far side.
They've just got to remain focused. Look at the clock, and now it's about game management. There's not so long to go. We don't give any chances away. We sit in, we focus, we shuffle across, we're tight, we're urgent. We can't give them any time and space anywhere near our box.
Here's Gvardiol running into a bit of a blind alley on the halfway line. If you are Palace, Paul Morrison, would you take 1-1 now, full time?
The point is good, but you see, this is a very different Man City side.
Yeah,
they've coughed up so many opportunities for Palace that you don't ordinarily get from a Man City side. They give you chances like they've never done before.
No.
You know,
Palace have had 3 or 4, haven't they?
Exactly,
really?
they've had good chances too, Palace, which you don't normally see from Man City. There's doubt when the good ball goes between the centre halves and the keeper. There's doubt. The wind swirling in the air. We look at Rico Lewis out here, who's had a really torrid time. He's been left by himself as well, by the way. He's not really been supported totally by anyone around him.
Mateus Nunes has absolutely no interest in tracking back.
Absolutely
that may be under instruction to not have any interest, but believe you me, there There are none given, I think it's fair to say,
No.
Mateus Nunes from a defensive point of view. Free kick here to Palace inside their own half of the field. De Bruyne with the challenge. The ball was moving, so back come the Eagles.
But then on a disappointing fact for Palace, I think Sarr and Eze have got to do more. They've got to get in the game a little bit more, because for me, those two can be your match winners, without a doubt. The way they travel with the ball and create chances, they could be your match winners, but they've not been in the game enough.
Palace's best players, for my money, have been Hughes. Mateta's caused a lot of bother. And Munoz has scored the goals.
Exactly,
so, I mean, you
right.
can't take anything away from him. He's been the decisive factor for Crystal Palace from an offensive point of view. And normally we would be talking about Eberechi, Eze and players of that sort. Now, Gay gets himself out of trouble and then finds Lerma on the edge of his own penalty area. There are a few gasps, and again there's a gasp here because Palace have given this away. And Paul Mortimer shudders physically to my left.
Got to know what you're doing, and at no point did any Palace player know what the next pass was going to be.
No confidence that was going to get sorted out.
Absolutely none. They looked like five strangers that met in the car park and said, "Shall we try passing out the back?"
Yeah, let's I'll tell you what. Who reckons we can pass out from the back?
No, it's scary, because all it's done is it's given this team, this Man City team, who again metronomically you were saying are keeping possession. We're giving them back the ball.
Here's Nunes again down the left into the Palace box, sets it for Lewis, who tries to nip past two defenders, been won back by Guardiol, and here's De Bruyne, edge of the box, plays it square for Gundogan. Again, he's at the post from that sort of range, back to De Bruyne, who's managed to pick out Savinho, who tries to get the ball away from two Palace players. He's still going wide to Nunes on that left-hand side once again, angled back to De Bruyne, 25 yards to goal, takes a heavy touch, Lerma wins the ball, so does Mateta held back by De Bruyne. Free kick Palace. They've weathered that particular storm. If I'm allowed to use that phrase this afternoon.
No, they did, and the thing about it was they chucked so many players forward, Man City. If they did break out their Palace, it's a hell of a long run, but they're literally 3v3 or 2v2.
Yeah.
Something to look at for Palace is to sit in and then, really do move at pace when they do attack.
Long high ball for Crystal Palace. Off that's been headed by Guardiol into Sarr's back of Sarr's head. Now it's going to drop to Hughes on the halfway line. Here's Lerma. Lerma just has he been fouled by Bernardo Silva? Yes, he has. Free kick. Now Palace going to stick this long again. No, they're going to ask.
Now it's going to be back. I mean,
would you have stuck that in the mixer again?
I would have just taken my time and
launched it.
And launched it. No, I'd have taken my time and set something up.
Not launched. Yes,
and then launched it. At some point, there's a launch.
Given it a massive bit of thinking time, and then flashed it into the mixer. Back to Ortega. And then Lewis's clearance isn't entirely convincing. Header won by Chalabar out for a City throw level with the edge of their own penalty area. 4 minutes of the first half to go. This is BBC Radio London. It's Crystal Palace 1, Manchester City 1. Palace in front through Munoz. Equaliser from Haaland. Goal number 13 for him of this Premier League season. This ball bounces in front of Sarr, and now Mateta, edge of the box, sets it for Hughes, corner of the penalty. Eze lifts it over the top, nearly finds Mateta again, scrambled away by Gundogan. This is going to reach Haaland. There's a counter-attacking chance here, and loads of space for Savinho, who charges through the middle of the field. He's got two City players ahead of him. He's running square, and he drives it towards goal and over the top. I think Henderson withdrew the gloves. He knew it was flying over. That was counter-attacking football of a particularly breathless kind.
It was, but in the end, you're a Palace fan, sort of thinking, Savinho, go by yourself. Go by yourself.
Don't offload the other two.
Don't, because there were three spare players. Because everyone had been drawn to Savinho, so I'm thinking there's a spare guy to play to. He didn't, and he was going to do very well to beat Henderson from there. But again, Palace get into good positions, and one of the things you said about Man City is, there's doubt. There's doubt. They're not convincing. That's the word you use. They're not convincing. They're not defensively. They're not convincing.
In goes Chalabar, does well to win that. Munoz clips it over the top. Another aerial ball for City to deal with, headed down towards Sarr, and he gives it away to Gundogan, and now De Bruyne flies forward, and the same counter-attacking threat is there. Savinho for Haaland. He's got De Bruyne to his right if he can find him. Here is De Bruyne, who crosses too early and allows Lacroix to clear. It all starts with Sarr's sloppy pass at the other end of the field.
And that's the problem. That's what irritates me about Sarr. There's a sloppiness in his play sometimes. Within 2 or 3 passes, they're off. And by the way, I think he didn't pass it early.
Oh no!
I actually think he had to pass. If he was going to play Haaland, he had to pass it then. Not disagreeing with you, not arguing, but
I just sit and listen and learn, Paul. That's given away by City for Munoz, who charges forward into the City penalty area. There's an awful lot going on out there at times. Here's Hughes, 30 yards from goal. Exchanges passes with Lerma. They pulled a lot of players back behind the ball here with 90 seconds of the first 45 minutes to go. It's 1-1. Here's Mitchell down the left. Low cross. Easily cleared by Walker. Trouble with Palace is they get themselves in these brilliant positions as Haaland tries to get away from Lacroix and goes down. No foul. He just lost his footing. Both these teams carry massive threat when they go forward.
Yeah, they do.
But neither of them at the moment can finish it off.
No, they can't, and that's the it's slightly irritating. There's a spell there where Palace are in a good crossing position again and give the ball away, trying to play risk-free football again.
Cheaply, yeah.
It's you either get it wide, get a Munoz at it, get a cross in, create something, cause a problem for Man City's defence, but they don't do that. Within 3 passes, they've given the possession away, and Haaland's nearly in again.
Lacroix pings it wide to Mitchell down the left for Crystal Palace in City territory. 2 players converge on him. It's played forward now for Mateta, who just about collects the ball, gets forced wide towards the corner flag. Has to wait for support to arrive. That support with Mitchell. That's a decent cross that's snatched out of the air by Ortega. Or was it a decent cross, actually? Was it too close to the keeper?
Not great.
No.
See, I'm watching Eze and I'm watching Sarr, and I know he made a run for that, but Eze's walking around and he's got to do more for me, because I think he's a top player. These are the games where you want him to take it by the scruff of the neck, and I know he's been injured and he's a long time coming back, and maybe he's easing his way through the game, but they've got to get the ball to him more.
3 minutes of added time, I think they just announced there from the 4th official. Quite sure we get 3 minutes. Did it say 3 minutes?
Yeah, I think it was 3 minutes.
Yeah, unless my ears are deceiving me, and I have some very warm, cosy headphones on. Just seen that Jamal Musiala has just scored for Bayern Munich against FC Heidenheim. 2-1 they lead. Musiala, of course, educated just down the road from here.
Exactly
at the Whitgift School in Croydon, no less.
Yep, I know it well.
A young man, no stranger to this part of suburban South London.
A proper young footballer as well, by the way.
Absolutely very magnificent.
Good.
Yeah,
very good. Lost to England, by the way.
Yeah, well, I think he was brought up in New Malden, if I'm very much again not too far from here. Went to school at the Whitgift. Probably knew where Selhurst Park was, but
I would assume
sadly
so.
is not. No, didn't end up playing his football here. But never mind. Goes out of play for another thrown on the far side. We're playing the 2nd minute of added on time in the first half. It is 1-1, and here is Gvardiol on the halfway line. Sarr comes to close him down. Diaz turns away from Mateta, goes back to Ortega. He's going to try and clip this out to the flank. It's easily intercepted by Chalobah, and then dallying on the ball is Munoz, which means City have won it back. Here's Gundogan steaming forward, wide to De Bruyne on that left-hand side, slots it infield. Gundogan thinks about shooting. Savinho inside the D, tries to feed Bernardo Silva. It's cleared away by Crystal Palace. Mateta, who's fouled inside his own half. Free kick to Palace. Mateta wants further sanction, he won't get it, and I think we're watching this first half start to ebb away from us. We've had 2 goals, could have had 3 or 4 really, and what I'm interested in, Paul, is that we kind of, Phil might ask you questions about this in a minute if we can pick him up from the puddle he's sitting in at the GTEC. But this business of Crystal Palace kind of looking at City and going, what sort of Man City have we got today? And we've almost got a bit of both, haven't we? We've got a ruthless City at one end of the field and a deeply troubled City at the other end.
What I would suggest is that we've got Man City light.
Mateta helps this on, and Eze tries to get hold of it. It's going to drop on the edge of the penalty area, and running it away from the Palace forwards is Gundogan, who clears, just goes over Chalobah, and then Hughes hooks it back towards the City box. It's going to run to Sarr. We'll get back to this in a second, Paul, if we can, because Palace are ending this half strongly. Space here for Eze. Marauding run, shoots relatively tamely, blocked by Diaz. Out for a throw-in. They're having another crack before the break.
Yeah, we you know, to use a fizzy drink analogy, we haven't got the full fat Man City. We've got Man City light. Do you know what I mean? We know what they are, but they're not quite the Man City we know and love, and they've coughed up too many chances for me.
And that gives Crystal Palace the way to maybe winning this game.
Real hope.
Half-time whistle's gone. Palace in front on 4 minutes. Hughes feeding Munoz, who ran from an onside position, drove home the opener. City's equaliser just before the half hour from Nuno's cross, a textbook centre-forwards header from Erling Haaland. İlkay Gundogan hit the post. Palace have had other chances. Lerma's effort was blocked. There's all sorts going on out there, and couple it to the truly wretched weather conditions. We've had a really good first half. The second half could be fascinating. A very curious Manchester City have turned up, and Crystal Palace are adapting accordingly. Half-time at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace 1, Manchester City 1.
BBC Radio London.
The home of London football.
Half-time at Selhurst Park, then on BBC Radio London Sport on a Saturday afternoon. One apiece in that game. Paul Mortimer's thoughts in a moment. 2-2 here at half-time at the G-Tech as well. Brentford taking the lead twice through Brian Mbeumo and Yoane Wissa, both sumptuous finishes. One nicely set up by Christian Norgard, the other from a poor play from Lewis Hall, who gave possession to Wissa, but the lead on both occasions lasted, 2 minutes or less. Newcastle back on level terms in the first instance through Isak just nudging in a Jacob Murphy cross-come shot beyond Mark Flecken, and then it was Murphy setting up Barnes inside the penalty area, no one closing him down. He had time to squeeze it in. Newcastle also hit the roof of the net through Murphy, and Guimaraes had a shot which went flashing across the face of goal at the other end. Brentford have looked lively creating half opportunities. I don't think the scoring's finished. It's 2-2 here. There's been a late goal at the end of the first half at Loftus Road. Jacob Culshaw.
QPR have doubled their lead. Phil, QPR 2, Norwich City 0. Kenneth Power, the delicious delivery into the box, and the substitute, the makeshift striker, filling in for Zancella coming off the bench. Ryan Colley was there to put it home. QPR 2, Norwich City 0.
Thanks very much indeed. If we can quickly go back to Selhurst Park. I'm not sure if Mortz is there or if he and Nick have gone off to get a little cup of tea. Perfect start for Crystal Palace. Manchester City, as yourself and Nick were saying, though, are clinical in attack themselves, but Nick asked you a very interesting question about whether Palace at this point would take a 1-1 now.
Well, I mean, what I said was, I look at it, and before the game they probably would have, but the way the game's developed, this Man City team is very different from the previous ones in the way that they cough up chances. There's an uncertainty in them defending. I mean, the swirling wind doesn't help, and there was a spell where Palace were knocking some long balls that caused problems, but all over the pitch, this Man City side, when the ball's in transition, is not the Man City that we know. Going forward with De Bruyne and Haaland, definitely the Man City we know, keeping possession and stuff, but when they're under pressure defensively, Palace have had 3 or 4 very good chances, which is very unlike the Man City that we know. So, Glasner will be saying in the dressing room, we've got to tighten up, we've got to keep tight, but we have to take our chances when they come along, and they will come along. And that's why I'm saying he'd probably say, do you know what, I wouldn't take 1-0 now, 1-1 now, because I think we could win this.
It's not really Oli Glasner's way either, is it? I don't think.
No, I've got to say, the way they've played, I mean, Will Hughes has been really good in the middle of the park. Henderson in goal's been good. Mateta's caused problems up front. They need more from Ismaila Sarr and Eze. They need more, and if they can get a little bit more from those two, most definitely they can win this, dependent on what Man City turn up in the second half.
Yeah, excellent. Well, go and get yourself warm if you can. The hand dryers in the toilets at the back of the press box, I would imagine, would be very popular at this moment in time, just to get warmed up. Thank you very much, Paul Mortimer, Nick Godwin, back in about 10 minutes or so with them for the second half of that one here at the G-Tech. It is 2-2. What about at the Den this afternoon? It's Millwall against Coventry. Emily Herbert.
And it's Millwall 0, Coventry City 0 at half time. It's been a bit of a boring game, no big chances for either side. side. I'd say Millwall are on top, but Coventry do look really threatening on the counter. Longstaff looking for his second goal of the season, which was probably their biggest chance of the game, but the striker skies it, as does Watmore, who does the same a few minutes later. The ball did find itself in the back of the Sky Blues net on the 15-minute mark from a direct corner kick from Joe Bryan, but referee Thomas Bramwell said nope, there was a foul in the box against the Lions. So at half-time at the Den, it's Millwall 0, Coventry City 0.
Elsewhere in the Premier League, by the way, this afternoon, only one other game. Aston Villa 1-0 up against Southampton. John Duran with the goal. Manchester United Forest is a 5:30 kick-off. Everton Liverpool postponed because of the weather earlier today. In the Championship, in the early kick-offs, Leeds beat Derby 2-0. Sheffield Wednesday 1-1 with Preston North End, and Sunderland beat Stoke by 2-1. Cardiff Watford's been called off today because of the weather. Blackburn 1-0 up at Hull. As you were hearing, Millwall Coventry goalless at the moment. No game for Plymouth Argyle and Oxford United because of Storm Darragh. Portsmouth 1-0 up against Bristol City. Luton Town 1, Swansea 0. And at Loftus Road, well, they haven't won at home all season. They're halfway to getting that first victory, Jacob Coulson.
They are halfway indeed, Phil. It's QPR 2, Norwich City 0. They are 45 minutes away from their first home win of the season. Jimmy Dunn's second goal of the season opened the scoring 21 minutes in. Madsen floated a corner into the mixer, causing chaos for the Norwich backline, and the right back poked the loose ball home into the top left-hand corner. QPR have kept Norwich at bay. Remember, they are the league top scorers, and Dunn himself produced a heroic challenge to stop the Championship top scorer Boy Signs from bearing down on goal, and the R's doubled their lead just on the stroke of half-time. Kenneth Powell, the left-back, with a gorgeous set-piece from the right, swung into the area, and substitute Ryan Colley, who's had to fill in for Zancella, who came off with a hamstring injury, headed home. It's a big 45 ahead, Phil. Half-time here. QPR 1, Norwich City 0.
Absolutely. Can they maybe build on that? Certainly hang on to it is what they will be hoping for. League One today, Lincoln Charlton finished 0-0. Leyton Orient made it a very positive week by a 2-0 victory up at Wigan Athletic. Barnsley Birmingham half-time in that one goalless. No games at Blackpool or Bristol Rovers. Burton Wrexham is 0-0 at this moment in time. Cambridge United lead 2-0 at home to Shrewsbury. Creepy crawling Stevenage was postponed earlier today. Mansfield 1, Huddersfield Town 2. Stockport Exeter goalless, and Wycombe Wanderers Reading currently 1 apiece. Let's go into League 2 then, shall we? Crewe Bradford 1-1. Walsall beat Port Vale. Those games both the early kickoffs by 0-0. Accrington Stanley Bromley. Mark Taylor has got this one for us in Lancashire.
Half-time, Accrington 1, Bromley 1. All the action early on in the half. Michael Cheek put the Ravens ahead. He finished well after a run by Cameron Congreve. The perfect start for Bromley, but the lead didn't last long. Ben Woods levelled matters with an angled drive for Stanley. He hit it from the left and it arrowed past Grant Smith in the visitors' goal. If we expected a goal fest at that point, it's not yet materialised, despite plenty of endeavour from these two very evenly matched sides. Half-time, Accrington 1, Bromley 1.
Barrow, Milton Keynes off today because of Storm Darragh as well. Chesterfield 2-0 up against Tranmere Rovers. Cheltenham lead at Doncaster Rovers by 1-0. Gillingham Salford, no goals in that one. What about on Wetherby Road? Harrogate against AFC Wimbledon. Chris Sykes.
It's Harrogate 0, AFC Wimbledon 2 at the break. A professional and clinical opening 45 minutes from the Dons, who've got much better in challenging weather conditions. Josh Kelly put them in front on 11 minutes with his first league goal of the season, a deflected effort from the edge of the area deceiving James Belshaw in the Harrogate goal, and they doubled the lead on 23 minutes. John Joe Toole heading in for a corner from the near side. Harrogate have offered very little going forward. Dare I say it, Owen Goodman in the Dons goal has been more troubled by the weather than the home side. At half-time, it's Harrogate 0, FC Wimbledon 2.
Thank you very much, Chris. Newport County, Carlisle and Notts County, Colchester United both postponed today, and Swindon Town bottom of the lot 2-0 up against Fleetwood United. Fleetwood United, who are they? Fleetwood Town in League 2. FA Trophy today. Brentford 3, Southend United 5 is a Brentwood 3, Southend United 5 full-time score. Wilston 0-0 at Aldershot at this moment in time. Barnet 1-0 up against Aveley this afternoon in the trophy as well. Bournemouth Eastbourne is goalless at this moment in time. Chertsey, Dagenham, Chesham, Salisbury were postponed. Kidderminster Harriers, Neil MacDonald, the assistant manager there, of course, our very own Neil MacDonald, a 2-1 up against Fylde this afternoon. Hanwell Eastleigh was postponed. These games are going to have to be rearranged. Hartlepool Tamworth likewise. Enfield, I think, went 2-1 up, 2-0 up against Sittingbourne, but now Sittingbourne are 4-2 up against Enfield Town. Slough lead Maidenhead by a goal to nil. Maidenhead that is a real tough stitch at the moment for Maidenhead. Now losing local rivals, the Rebels. Slough Town are 1-0 up in that game in the FA Trophy as well. Sutton United lead Ebbsfleet by a goal to nil elsewhere in the competition this afternoon. Right, let's just get some reaction to our early games then, shall we? 0-0 Charlton Athletic at Lincoln. Didn't sound like a thriller. What did Nathan Jones have to say about it? Well, I think it's fair to say he had some strong words to say about the playing conditions.
It was disgraceful conditions, really, you know. To football match in there, you're never going to be a spectacle, but I thought the positives come out. It was a clean sheet and we limit them to very little counter-attacks. First half was all it was. We were far better in possession today in terms of how we moved the football. We made better choices than we did in midweek, for example, in terms of when to go in, when to play, when to move the ball quickly. And look, if it hadn't been for the conditions, we'd have been able to be a little bit more fluent. Good to see Lloyd Jones back. As I said, it's a 7th clean sheet so far, 10 in all competitions. So last year this football club only kept 5 clean sheets in the whole season. So it shows that, one, we've improved things defensively, and I'm proud of the performance because I don't think anyone realised how bad the conditions were until you go into the middle of the pitch. And second half it was blowing a gale against us, but I thought we were brave. I thought we took the sting out of the game and probably had the best situations.
I saw in the early stages when Lincoln had that throw or corner that went behind for a goal kick, it was going to make a big difference today.
Look, the conditions were a disgrace, but we tried to take the sting out. We tried to play, we tried to move the ball quickly. We did that really well first half. Got into situations and didn't hit the target, didn't quite have the final pass, and that was the thing. Second half, it was gale force blowing right down the pitch against us. So again we had to try and play. Again we had to take the thing out of the game, and we kept a clean sheet and limited them to very, very little. So it shows that one part of the game was very good today.
Yeah, you could tell that you were playing the ball more on the floor today. Was that partly the conditions or partly something you want to see more from your side as well?
We always work on that. Like, look, whatever happens in a game, if you watch our training, we can stretch play, we can go into front, but we move the ball with tempo. That's what we work on day in, day out. And when we become the side that we want to become, because bear in mind, everyone, you know, we're 18th in League One when I came here. They hadn't won in 18 games. Last year we turned stuff around. We had to lay a foundation. We had to get better defensively, and we did what we had to do this year. We've tried to be more fluent, tried to be more front-footed, embedded a lot of players in. Defensively, we've improved considerably from last year because we were one of the best in the league defensively. So it's all a work in progress. Now, it isn't going to happen overnight because we haven't spent 40 million, but we are getting there. And when you say about midweek, that was just choices from players midweek, and I take a lot of the onus on myself and the blame on myself and the responsibility for everything. But we don't set up to go long. We don't train like that. That's not how we train. And we train to be fluent, to be front-footed, to move the ball quickly, to be aggressive, to run beyond people. That's what we train to do, and we made better choices today.
Conditions didn't sound good, but I suppose that for both sides, but he wasn't very happy there, Nathan Jones. We'll get some Richie Wellens reaction after the full-time whistles are blown in our 3 o'clock games here on BBC Radio London. Certainly lots of excitement. The conditions are not making it easy necessarily in those games as well. That there's been goals. Bromley are 1 apiece at Accrington Stanley. Wimbledon lead 2-0. QPR are 2-0 up as well. No goals at Millwall. 4 goals here at the G-Tech, by the way. 38 goals have been scored at this stadium in 7.5 games. It's simply bonkers. What is the second half going to hold in store here or in our commentary match? Crystal Palace 1 apiece for Man City. We'll back there next on BBC Radio London. It's just gone 4.
BBC Radio London.
Celebrating community.
We're diving headfirst into BBC Children in Need.
And the camaraderie, the chaos, voices,
sporting moments.
They passed! What
What is Peppa Pig doing out there?
Introducing new talent.
We're a alternative rock band based in London.
If you're feeling that, then obviously steal it for your own personal playlist.
Breaking news story.
If Billingsgate Market just seized and halted, it would mean there's no fish market for London.
Loving London.
London has been amazing for inspiration.
Different variety of food. I defy you not to be amazed. The sound of London. You learn something every day.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Play BBC Radio London.
And on BBC Sounds.
BBC Radio London.
BBC Radio London.
The home of London football.
Saturday Sport on BBC Radio London. Welcome along wherever you are this afternoon. If you're sheltering from the inclement weather, keep us with you. Hopefully you're tucked indoors listening to that. Plenty of action taking place and plenty more to come. Our commentary game is at Selhurst Park. Second half getting off and underway. Palace 1, Man City 1. Paul Mortimer is alongside Nick Godwin.
Well, and Phil, are you mopped up? Have you fresh pair of clothes?
I wish. I mean, it's actually stopped raining. I don't know about you, but it has stopped raining here at the moment. It's very cold and windy, but it's it's fun. But 38 goals I've worked out at the G-Tech in 7.5 games so far this season. I said it.
Keep you warm, isn't it?
I said it last season. Last week, you can forget about the Palladium and like the Victoria Theatre or whatever it is, the Apollo in Victoria. This is where you come for entertainment. 38 goals in 7.5 games. Crazy.
Well, there'll be people, getting stuck through the letterbox at the moment, talking about some of the pantomimes that you can go and see over Christmas, and whether that would keep everybody entertained over the course of the period. But maybe just a season ticket for Brentford will do.
Well, maybe. I mean, some of the defending at times has been pantomime-esque.
There we go. He's behind you. We had a bit of that with Rico Lewis here, actually, Phil, to be honest with you. But we'll let you do whatever you need to do to survive the next hour or so, and bring us up to date with how the second half of Brentford against Newcastle goes. The blast of cold Arctic wind has just hammered us all here in the press box. Those of us that have been able to kind of stand up and stretch our legs, or we've all slightly felt our age in the last minute or so, as it's just absolutely ripped round everybody. Chilled us all to the bone, dear oh dear. Let's hope the second half's any good, because dear oh dear, these weather conditions today have been very challenging. But it's lovely to be watching a really, really fascinating Premier League fixture between Crystal Palace and Manchester City, which is back underway for the second half. 1-1 the score, no changes at half time. We will run you through the two lineups, starting with Crystal Palace. Henderson in goal, the back three of Chalobah, Lacroix and Gueye. In midfield, Munoz, Hughes, Lerma and Mitchell, with Eze, Mateta and Sarr up front. Throw into City on the far side, Rico Lewis to take it, gets it into the feet of Nunez, back to Lewis, and Gundogan rolls the ball back to the halfway line, where Gvardiol will trudge forward. Crystal Palace defending the Holmesdale end in this second half. You don't often see Palace attack the supermarket end in the second half, but that's what's happened today. And City are coming forward down that left-hand side. Nunez again with a skipping run to the edge of the penalty area, goes on the outside of Munoz. He makes a really important challenge, puts it out for a corner to City. They've got Ortega in goal, and back for a Walker, Gvardiol, Diaz and Lewis. In midfield, Gundogan, Nunez, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne and Savino, with Haaland up front. And it'll be De Bruyne who takes this corner for City on the far side of the field. The Palace subs: Turner, Ward and Nketiah, Schlupp, Klein, Kamada, Richards, Doucouré and Devaney. Here is De Bruyne's corner, cleared away at the near post by Gueye. It's going to come out to Nunez. City goes all the way back to Ortega away to our left. Their subs: Edison, Carson, Grealish, Doku, Wright, Simpson, Puzzi, O'Reilly, McAtee and Wilson, Esprand. City are in their change strip of black and bright greeny yellow stripes, as Bernardo Silva's hoisted ball forward is easily cut out by Maxence Lacroix, and then Eze's not quite able to pick up the loose ball. Hughes tries to clang into the middle of the field and pick it up. He had a really good first half, Will Hughes, but he couldn't do much about that, and City have possession on the halfway line. And there's been a goal early on in the second half at Wetherby Road. Coming, Chris Sykes.
And AFC Wimbledon extend their lead further. It's Harrogate 0, AFC Wimbledon 3. Josh Kelly intercepting a ball forward, threading in Matty Stevens, who took the ball past James Belshaw. Goal number 14 of the season for him, and it's 3-0 to AFC Wimbledon.
Well, as luck would have it, Johnny Jackson is going to be our guest on BBC Radio London on Monday evening when West Ham take on Wolves, and I'm sure he'll be in a very good mood if that carries on at Harrogate. Here comes City. It's a bit of a quiet start, this, by Crystal Palace, and the ball's rolled out of play on the far side, and Paul Mortimer is alongside me, and City starting quite solidly.
Yeah, I was just having to rub my eyes there, because initially, and they've just swapped over now, Munoz and Tyreek Mitchell had swapped wings, and Munoz is in front of us playing left back, and Tyreek Mitchell was over on the right, which was a bit weird, but they have come back now.
No, I hadn't even clocked that. That's good that you're there.
You know, the thing about this is if they can keep it tight, Palace, often we look at the benches that come into it, and they've only got Grealish and Doku. Yeah. Now, as good as they are,
I'm not sure Scott Carson's going to pose too many problems for the Crystal Palace defence.
Many options on the bench, and so and Palace have got experience on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, Palace can bring on Chet Doucouré. Yeah. They've got Daichi Kamada, who's had 3 games with his feet up. Eddie Nketiah, another player who'll be desperate to make an impact in a game of this sort. Yeah. So that's a really good point coming up around the 65-minute mark, maybe. Who knows what either of these two managers will... Well, we think we know what Guardiola will decide to do because he hasn't got that many options. City have the ball inside Palace territory once again, and Guardiola is running square. Goes back to halfway, and Diaz. Guardiola will spread it wide to Nunez on that left-hand side again. The man who's setting the cross for the equaliser. Angles this infield for Gundogan once again. He's at the post already in this game. Bernardo Silva back to Nunez, and he's miscontrolled that. Tried to bring the ball under his spell, but in the end just letting it trickle out of play for a throw-in on that far side of the field. 4 second half minutes gone here on BBC Radio London. It is 1-1. Palace in front through Daniel Munoz's second goal in an Eagles shirt, and his second in 2 games at Selhurst Park. And the equaliser from Erling Haaland. Here's the ball clipped forward by Munoz. The target is Mateta, and it bounces out of play for a throw-in. I think it's fair to say we haven't really seen much of Crystal Palace from an attacking point of view so far in this half. By this point in the first half, they were, of course, 1-0 up.
Well, I think what I'm seeing and what I'm saying, lovely skill from Serino, is that they've got to be better in possession. They've got to keep the ball better.
Yeah, there was some sloppy play, wasn't there? We mentioned it from Sarr. Sarr and Eze really have not excelled so far.
But that's because they're doing what they're doing now. They've had to run back to their goal all the time because they've dominated play, Man City. Palace get it. They need to be better on the ball. They need to do this, what City are doing to them. They need to be able to do this. Just get some consecutive sort of confident passes in and make City work a little bit for the ball.
I don't really think Crystal Palace have had 5 or 6 consecutive passes so far in this half, to be honest with you. That's not an exaggeration. It's been all Manchester City so far, but it is 1-1. Palace come into this game having won at Ipswich. City come into it having won against Nottingham Forest. This is guided forward towards De Bruyne. Hughes holds him up initially. Goes wide to Nunez on that left-hand side once again. It's a set pattern of the game now. Palace defending deep. City with the ball, knocking it around, trying to enter that final third of the field. No way through at the moment, but Manchester City are brilliant at just grinding you down. Here's Nunez again on that left edge of the Palace penalty area. No way through. Back to Gvardiol, who, though he's a centre-half, is playing 3/4 of the way inside the Palace half of the field. Gundogan in the middle. Lewis played through almost by De Bruyne to Haaland. Cleared away by Crystal Palace, but not to Mateta. It's collected by Diaz. Oliver Glasner's come to the edge of his technical area to try and get his team to play a little further forward.
Because here we go.
Palace can counter with Sarr. He's going to try and bustle down that right-hand side. Sprints past 2 or 3, and he's raced into the penalty area. Sets him out for Eze, who turns and shoots. Is blocked by Diaz. Might come out to Mitchell, volleyed away by Walker. As you said, well, then he said, here we go at the other end of the field as well. Counter-attacking chance for Man City, but this is going to kind of run out of steam really as Palace clear their lines. But Ismaila Sarr showed a clean pair of heels down that right side.
But it just shows you what they can do when they keep possession better. And they need to just be a little bit better in possession. because this can't happen for the next 35 minutes. Man City controlling the ball.
Well, they'll score.
Because
bluntly.
they will score.
Yeah.
Because concentration will be... It's really hard shuffling across, shutting people down, shuffling across without getting the joy of possession of the ball. It's really hard.
There's been a goal at QPR Norwich. Jacob Culshaw.
It's QPR 3, Nick. Norwich City 0. They're closing in on their first home win of the season. It's the substitute again. Ryan Colley, he rubs Callum Doyle, bears down on Angus Gunn and smashes it past the Norwich City goalkeeper. QPR 3, Norwich City 0.
It is a big headline-making score. If QPR can get that job done, it looks as though they're very well set. Here come Palace, ball forward looking for Mateta, who can't quite control it. There are shouts of handball not given, I think, against Mateta. Run away from danger here for Crystal Palace by Gundogan. Wide to Nunes on that left side, and they're just real flashes of possession. They just, like in the blink of an eye, Palace will have the ball and they will cause problems with it, but then we go back to this really set pattern now where Palace have to watch City knock it around in the middle third of the field and just try and keep their concentration at maximum to keep them out. Still 1-1.
Although it's good play from Palace, because what they're doing is they're saying to Man City, you can go wide, but you're not coming through the middle.
No.
It's so condensed in the middle, in that middle third of the pitch, and they're making it difficult. And they've, in doing that, they've pushed Man City right back, and now they've given the ball away.
Gvardiol's let it go out for a throw-in. Munoz to take it, halfway inside the Palace half of the field. 9 second half minutes played here on the home of London football. It is 1-1. Tomorrow, Fulham against Arsenal and Tottenham against Chelsea. 2 live games, both of them on digital radio. And on Monday evening, join Aaron Paul and Johnny Jackson, whose AFC Wimbledon side are 3-0 up at the moment at Harrogate, as we look back on the weekend and get ready for West Ham against Wolves. El Sacchio, as it has unfortunately been decreed. Here's Nunes, edge of the box for City, gets it wide to the right, and Walker. Palace pull everybody except Mateta back behind the ball. Here's Bernardo Silva driving away down the right hand side. And when I say El Sacchio, what I mean by that, in the way I'm ruining at least 2 languages at the same time there, if one of them loses that one, they may well get the sack, either Julien Lopetegui or Gary O'Neill. So lots to look forward to tomorrow on BBC Radio London and on Monday. And then on Wednesday evening, just to mark your card, Millwall against Sheffield United. Millwall could be 10 unbeaten by the time they play one of the top sides in the Championship.
I've got a quick question. I don't want to be troublesome, but what if they draw?
This is lifted forward now, and Sarr's inside the box, tries to set it, but he can't find another Palace player. Mateta and Sarr almost got in the way of each other. Here's Hughes picking it up, driving run, his shot's deflected behind, it's a corner. All of a sudden Palace spring to life, and they've earned a corner down the right.
And that's from Man City's mistakes.
Yeah.
Basically. And again, I'm looking at Ismaila Sarr again, gets into a good position, doesn't produce. Will Hughes again anticipates really well, wins the ball back. His shot is deflected. He's been really good in the middle of the park.
It's almost he's playing about a second and a half ahead of all the other Palace players.
He is. Yeah, exactly right.
And it's certainly a second and a half ahead of Sarr, who seems to be constantly responding to events rather than anticipating them. Yeah.
Needs to be a little bit more proactive in his thoughts.
Here's Hughes' corner, swung in with real whip and headed into the net by Maxence Lacroix, and Crystal Palace go back ahead 11 minutes into the second half. Hughes with the whip delivery, and Lacroix soared through the air, powered the header past Ortega, and the Eagles retake the lead in the second half here in the wind and the rain at Selhurst Park. Palace 2, City 1.
Well, you know what? I have to have another look at this, because it looks like Man City were marking zonally, but Lacroix, no one was marking him. He's got above a standing Carl Walker, who's been more interested in holding him rather than actually challenging for the ball. There's only one person going for that. He wanted it more than anyone else. Big and strong. It's a great ball, cuts Ortega out. The keeper can't come for it. We'd have scored that, me and you.
Once he gets there, I can't see how anyone can miss, because he's done the work.
Exactly.
Granted, no one's with him, but it's almost as though he's thought, I'm unmarked here and I'm going to score because I'm jumping and I'm going to head this in.
But that's why I said me and you would have scored that, because we'd have seen that and gone, that's just got to hit us and it will go in. Because the marking was non-existent. Like I said, this is a Man City that's very different from what we would normally see. That's poor defending. For a big side with good defenders in it, by the way.
Yeah, they've had all that possession, Manchester City, and they bossed it and they started to grind Palace down, and then the mistake leads to the corner, and then Lequois just kind of stands there and nods it in. Sometimes games are about moments, and it's these moments. Do you make them count or don't you? Almost goes through to Mateta. Here's Eze, driving run to the middle of the field. Eze, and he stops thanks to Diaz, who has several times kind of got in the way. Oh, the space here for Mitchell. He's offside. That's why he's in so much space. And the free kick is given to Manchester City. It is Crystal Palace 2, Manchester City 1. I repeat, Crystal Palace 2, Manchester City 1. This is not a drill, and there's been another goal at Brentford. Here's Phil Parrott.
Nathan Collins restoring Brentford's lead. Flecker with a free kick. Collins drifting into the penalty area. A side foot volley beyond Nick Pope. He only scores in high scoring games. This one is one of those. Brentford lead by 3 goals to 2.
It's incredible, Brentford this season. And it's not as though they ever win 1-0. They win them all like 9-7 or something.
Do you know what? It's very un-Brentford-like.
Yeah,
the goals they're conceding. They're used to. They've never conceded goals.
City are coming forward, and Haaland goes to ground but can't find another City player. Núñez has it on the left into the feet of Gundogan, and he gets held up. Hughes is in his way. You make a really good point, because the narrative, to use that dreadful phrase, as this is intercepted by Gay here. Now Crystal Palace can counter.
There's a chance, he sees it.
We'll go back to Brentford here in a minute, but Eze's running sideways, and Munoz was miles away down the right, and Eze didn't see him.
Doesn't see, and that's a shame for him. He's missed 2 players as far as I'm concerned. He's had his head down and just not, again, very un-Eze-like.
Let's go to Accrington and Mark Taylor.
Accrington 1, Bromley 2. Idris Oduteo has restored the Ravens' lead with a direct free kick from the right touchline that went straight in. Accrington 1, Bromley 2.
What I was going to say about Brentford is everyone's now saying, Brentford, they're the great entertainers. Thomas Frank and his expansive attacking football. Thomas Frank is a very cautious, defensive coach.
Yes, exactly right.
But it just turns out that they can't defend because they haven't got any defenders, and they're only outscore teams.
I've seen enough Brentfords over the years. This is so unlike them in terms of the amount of goals and the volume of goals they're conceding.
And scoring. Yes. I mean, Thomas Frank would quite happily win every game 1-0. Yeah. I think if you cut him open or hypnotised him and asked him, how would you, I think, unless he's changing his approach.
Do you know the thing very quick that they've done really well? Because since Ivan Toney left, you're thinking, well, who's going to score their goals?
Everybody else.
And everyone else is, which wasn't happening before.
No, it wasn't. You're right. They relied. It was tremendous. Now, I'm sure Phil will have more to say on this after 5 o'clock. But Brentford are 3-2 up, and there's been a goal at the Den. Here's Emily Herbert.
It's Mill 0, Coventry City 1. It's Mason Clark with the goal for the Sky Blues. It's flicked up inside the box, hit the crossbar, and then curled its way in. It's been coming for Coventry. They've had chance after chance, and it's Mason Clark with the goal, and it's sent the visiting fans to my left absolutely wild. It's Millwall 0, Coventry City 1.
Frank Lampard's Coventry in front at the Den, 9 unbeaten for Millwall, but it might not be for much longer. Here come Manchester City trailing by 2-1. They've given it away, and here is Lerma for Palace. He's going to try and thread a pass, and it's been overhit, I think. And now Mateta's collided with Ortega, but Diaz has won the ball, and Mateta's stayed down on the edge of the City box.
There's nothing wrong with him. That was just a collision between 2 people. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all.
Here comes City. Palace leading by 2-1. Núñez down that left-hand side. Mateta's not moved.
The ref shouldn't do anything. It's not a head injury. He should play on. Man City decide whether they kick the ball out or not.
He's rolling over. He's not got up yet. He might need to get up if Palace turn the ball over, and they're going to want the ball downfield.
The ref should not crumble, because it's not a head injury.
He is not getting up, Mateta, and City carry on. Gvardiol, he said, what do I do? There's a play. He's now getting up very slowly. and now he's gone back down again.
You keep playing. He's all right. He's
up,
all
he's
right.
down.
He'll live.
Bernardo Silva skips in field. Walker into Gundogan. Eze sitting up. Mateta's sitting up.
He's gone back down again.
Here's Nunes. Sets it for Rico Henry. Not Rico Henry. Yeah, Rico Henry. No, Rico Lewis. I'm getting my my left back Rico's confused. Here's Kevin De Bruyne. Given to Walker. I've not been well, Paul. It's with Bernardo Silva down the right hand side. I've not mentioned it at all.
Oh, he's up and he's running back. He's absolutely fine.
Walker's crossed to the far post, flicked away by Munoz. It's a corner to City. A cavalcade of boos. Mateta back up and running back to the box.
I can't understand this. If he was struggling, then he should be staying down. You can't get up and run back like nothing's wrong. I'm sorry. You can't.
He's banged into Ortega.
The reason I'm saying that is because your team is a player down.
Yeah.
That's why.
Corner played short. We're going to go to QPR in a second. This has been run square to Gundogan. Palace are going to have to defend like lions, and there's a long way left as De Bruyne sends this into the box, headed away by Lerma. It's going to drop to Lewis and then headed clear by Lacroix as they can't get hold of it. But De Bruyne can. Here's Nunes down the left-hand side running at Mitchell. And it's going to be fed forward now for Rico Lewis, who cuts it into the 6-yard box, cut out by Lacroix, and then Mitchell's going to try and run this away from danger. And well, he's still going, Mitchell, and now he's earned a foul. Let's go to Loftus Road and Jacob.
QPR 3, Norwich City 0. It remains with a 3-goal lead. Nick, Ryan Colley, Robin Callum Doyle, who laced past Angus Gunn's near post. There were strong appeals for a penalty by Norwich, nothing given by referee Anthony Backhouse. Marcondes booked in the process, but it remains QPR 3, Norwich 0.
What about 3 scoring AFC Wimbledon at Harrogate? Chris Sykes.
Still Harrogate 0, AFC Wimbledon 3. It's been the Matty Stevens show in the second half. He's got 1 goal. He's had another disallowed for a foul and another well saved by James Belshaw in the Harrogate goal. Wimbledon firmly on top. It's Harrogate 0, Wimbledon 3.
That is a foul by Matheus Nunes on Trevor Chalobah, and a free kick to Crystal Palace inside the Eagles' half of the field. We've got 25 minutes to go. Crystal Palace 2, Manchester City 1.
The one thing I would mention in that period where Mateta's down is how well the 10 men defended. They did. Man City had the ball for a hell of a long time, and they remained focused and concentrated and defended really well.
Here come Palace with Mitchell down the left, drives away from Savina, gets held up in the end. Plays it infield, Lerma, Gahey on the left. Can't believe I'm saying this. Crystal Palace 2-1 up against the 3 times Premier League champions in succession. As Mateta almost picks up the loose ball there, and it's scrambled away from him. This is one of the poorer games I've seen Eberechi Eze have.
Yeah, he's
in a
not
Crystal
been good.
Palace shirt, which
he's not been good.
Mystifying in some respects, really, because if he plays well, they play well.
I can only say he's come back.
Yeah,
played a lot of games. It's their 3rd game in a week, isn't it?
It is, and he's only had an hour max of all of them because he's been running out of puff.
Yeah, so this is not a surprise.
De Bruyne, a driving run taken away from him by Mitchell, cleared for Palace to the halfway line. Walker nods it down. Gundogan helps it up in the air. It's going to drop to Lerma, and Eze manages to bustle past 2 defenders. Now, can Palace counter? Mateta bursting through the middle of the field. Sarr to his right, and Eze to his left. He shoots from 25 yards. He had someone right in front of him. Criminally selfish behaviour.
You see, the thing for me is Palace without a doubt need another goal, and they're going to be your opportunities. You've got to make them count, because you can't tell me that Man City are not going to fashion another opportunity. Of course they are. And Palace, this is how the die's been cast. This is how the game's going to be. Palace sitting in and being concentrated and focused and waiting for Man City to make a mistake, winning the ball, breaking out.
Would you like an appropriate and apposite statistic at this point in proceedings, Paul? Crystal Palace have not scored or conceded more than 2 goals in any Premier League fixture this season. They've never scored more than 2, and they have not conceded or let in more than 2 goals as well. So in order for Crystal Palace to lose this game, they're going to have that record's going to have to be broken.
Yeah, exactly.
And
right.
for them to get another goal and give themselves some breathing space, they're also going to have to go against every other piece of statistical information that we have on them this season. So, but that will take quite something. It'll take something to happen.
But the thing about it is, the chances they've had, they should have done that. Yeah, without a doubt, they definitely should have.
That's why they're in this mess in the first place, really. It is 2-1. Bernardo Silva rolls it forward. Here's Rico Lewis! Oh, what a strike! What an absolutely brilliant equaliser from Rico Lewis. They sliced Palace to pieces through the middle of the field, and the left back, Lewis, stole onto it and sent his effort into the roof of the net. All square at Selhurst once again. 3/4 of the match gone. Crystal Palace 2, Manchester City 2.
Well, it's a wonderful finish, and I don't know if Palace switch off a little bit because of that bounce ball, but Man City take their time, find the spare player, and the way they fashion this, good 1 and 2 touch play. And I've got to say, Trevor Chalobah comes out of his space and allows the Rico Lewis in there. If he sits and lets the attacker have it, he comes out of his space, and as he comes out, Rico Lewis goes in, the gap's there, they slide it into him. He's still got work to do, by the way. What a wonderful finish that was. And we're game on again.
Brilliant hit, wasn't it, from Lewis? Curled it into the top corner. And he's had a bit of a rubbish time of it at left back as well, Lewis, today, because Munoz and Sarr have bullied him a bit.
He's shown real resilience, though, because he's carried on playing. And again, the chances that Palace have missed, the opportunities that they've missed, now come to the fore.
That Mateta,
they come to the fore.
20 yards out when he should have passed it. But they've come back before to take. They've taken the lead twice already in this game, and this man, Eze, needs to be the one, I think, to lead the charge. Having said that, he'll probably come off in a minute because he's only lasted 65 minutes or so the last 2 games.
Nick, I think he has to. He's not having an effect on the game at all for what the player he is, and unfortunately, in a game like this, he becomes somewhat of a passenger. They carry him. And they can't afford to carry players, Crystal Palace.
Mitchell's given this away to De Bruyne, and it's been won back by Lerma. And then given away by Hughes this time. Now, Walker has just given Eze a little bump there off the ball. I think the ref saw it. Eze doesn't complain. He doesn't complain.
No, he has apologised, Walker. I don't know if it was intentional, but you kind of hope it might wake Eze up, because he needs something to get him playing.
Yeah, just a bit of a smack round the chops might
I don't know, something to liven him up, really, because as far as I'm concerned, he's looking nothing like the player can be, and it's possible maybe he might have to come off.
Lewis has been booked for a foul on Chalobah as he tried to break forward. He's had an interesting afternoon, Rico Lewis, the City left back.
Shown incredible resilience, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely, because he could have gone and hidden, couldn't he, because of particularly after the first half. Well, that first 4 minutes, I mean, Munoz ran away from him for the goal.
Yeah. Do you know what I've liked about him? He doesn't hide.
No.
He doesn't. Well, he can't at Man City, but he doesn't hide. He wants the ball. He wants to get involved. He goes into midfield. He puts himself out of his comfort zone. Really like the way he's bounced back today.
He's in the thick of things again with Munoz out for a City throw inside Palace territory. Got 20 minutes to go. It is Crystal Palace 2, Manchester City 2. Munoz and Lacroix for Palace, Haaland and Lewis for City.
Well, your heart says Palace, your head says Man City, because what we're looking at is which team is going to have the wherewithal to create the chances.
Well, we've talked about substitutions, haven't we? And I think this is Eze coming off. Justin Devaney has come on for the last 2 games about this time for Eze, who for my money has had actually one of his least effective games in the Crystal Palace shirt today, bizarrely, even though Palace have led for most of the time he's been on the pitch.
You know, Nick, sometimes that happens when you're coming back from injury. You have those games where it's just not working, you know, and you know, he does need, he's done enough. It's time for him to come off the pitch, and the ref's making him come off the other side, so he's got to catch a cab and 2 buses back to the dugout, which he's not going to be happy with, I've got to say.
On this part of the world, Paul, he'll have to go via West Croydon, because
that's murder.
Yeah. If you, that's not an easy journey to make, to be honest with you. Devaney comes on. Eze's left the field of play and will walk past all the City fans.
Devaney will come on in, and what he'll give them is energy.
Yeah, well,
and running power.
Well, and City have not made any changes yet, and we've only got just over 15 minutes to go. And again, partly because he hasn't got a lot of options.
No, I don't think he'll make changes unless he really has to, or someone pulls up lame. I don't think he'll make them.
Jack Grealish, not necessarily the player you want to introduce when you're trying to hang on. I mean, although maybe he is the kind of player you want to send on to try and get a third goal for Manchester City. Here's Savinho skipping in field. Mitchell's with him. Offloads to Bernardo Silva and wide to Walker on that right flank. Clips in cross, looking for Haaland, headed away from him. It's going to drop to De Bruyne, edge of the box. Gives it to Nunez on that left-hand side. Sets it for the corner of the penalty area, and De Bruyne, who gets right underneath that. It sails into the Holmesdale, and the referee has said that is a corner.
Yeah. Good block from Ismail Assar. Again, you can't allow people like De Bruyne, and as the Palace players tire, that's where he'll come into his own. If he doesn't tire, because he's been out a long while as well, he'll be getting time and space to be able to really get Man City going again. And I think that's where Haaland, who's hardly had a touch, will come into it as well.
Well, there could be a threat from this set piece. It's the fourth corner of the game for City. De Bruyne's floated delivery, headed up in the air. Haaland tries to volley it, he misses it completely. Bernardo Silva back into the mix, headed away by Sarr, only as far as Gundogan. And he gets it out to Nunez on that left-hand side, rolls it square. Gundogan wide to the right, and De Bruyne. Palace have pulled everybody back behind the ball now as they try and hang on to 2-2. This could be a fairly nervous last quarter of an hour or so. It's got very quiet inside Selhurst Park. De Bruyne and Gvardiol goes wide to Nunez on the left, running at Munoz, twists onto his right foot, sets it back for Gundogan. Bit of space here for Bernardo Silva, wriggles away from two. Savinho shoots, deflected, palmed away by Henderson. Turns it away from goal after it took the deflection. He may have been wrong-footed as well, Dean Henderson. It's only his second real save of the game as it's shifted by Bernardo Silva, and Savinho's shot is deflected off Guehi.
Going in. It's a really good save.
Brilliant stop.
Looked like it was
Corner.
going in. Really good save. Like Palace is defending, they're blocking, they're throwing their bodies in front of things. They've got to do that.
Here's the corner, swung in. Haaland heads it over and clangs into the post as well. Came off a Palace player. It's given us another corner. They're under the pump here, Crystal Palace, but they're defending well.
Yeah, it's good defending. It might be Mark Guehi, and they've got to keep doing it, Palace. They've got to keep doing it as Man City start to put their foot on the pedal and look to exert more pressure. They have to keep strong, the Palace, and defend and focus and concentrate.
De Bruyne's delivery flicked away by Lacroix, headed away from danger by Devaney, but there's no way out for Crystal Palace at the moment. Diaz has clattered Hughes, and here's a cross to send into the box. It goes over everybody. The game's been stopped because it's a head injury. Hughes is now back up on his haunches.
Yeah, he's not happy, Hughes. He's not happy.
He's making the point to our referee. Now, what goes on here?
Yeah, Diaz knows what he's doing. I don't know if it's caught. He hasn't caught him in the face, but Diaz knows exactly what he's doing. He has run into him. Yeah, he's run into him to stop him, without a doubt. Maybe giving a little elbow to the ribs. Not caught him in the face. Players run, roll over with their face, but he has caught him. He knows exactly what he's doing, Diaz.
Now the game was stopped because it looked like a head injury, as it wasn't in the face, as Paul has said, but there will be a drop ball.
Can we take a picture of this? Is it going to be an actual contested drop ball? Oh, there's a substitution.
Yeah, Palace will make a change. Yeah. Sarr for Nketiah. Well, Eddie Nketiah still yet to score a Premier League goal for Crystal Palace. Scoring against a winner against Manchester City would be a good way to open your account.
Today might be it, because he needs to get his Palace career up and running, and for him, scoring a goal would do that. Difficult for him because he's not playing as a central striker either.
No, he can't dislodge Mateta from that role at the moment. £25 million from Arsenal as Sarr makes his way off the pitch. Last Premier League goal was in October 2023 for Arsenal against Sheffield United. This is his 4th substitute appearance in the Premier League so far this season. He has scored in the League Cup against QPR.
A bit disappointed for him, because I think leaving Arsenal, I think he'd be expecting to start at Palace.
Now
when you leave at Arsenal.
Well, Mateta does score important goals for Palace. Scoring in both the wins against Ipswich and Tottenham.
Mateta's been brilliant. I think as a centre-forward central striker, he's everything you need. Big, strong, good feet, quicker than you think, intelligent, holds the ball up well, and can finish. The finish at Ipswich was magnificent.
Tremendous, wasn't it? Yeah, here comes City. Lewis is going to try and take on Lacroix. Lacroix levers him off the ball and pings it downfield. Devaney controls, uses Hughes, who has to stretch to get hold of that. And then Munoz with a little back heel, and Devaney's helped it on, and Mateta's come from it's an offside position. He must have been in the other half.
Yeah, he was.
He ran back into his own half.
Yeah, ran back into his own half.
Flag was up for offside.
Man City substitution coming.
Well, we are seeing Jeremy Doku, I think, who is rapid, and he's going to replace Savinho. That's a straight swap, really.
Yeah. But he normally plays on the left, doesn't he?
Yeah. There's a.
This will be interesting. Tyreek Mitchell's quick and very good 1v1. So this will be an interesting last 10 minutes, maybe.
Oh, it's very interesting indeed. Yeah. No, there's lots going on the field. This is lifted forward, and Doku is hurling after it, and he's going to keep it in play, and he's won a corner. Or has he? Yes, he has. First impact is to win a corner off Mitchell.
Good defending from Mitchell. He realises he's got work to do. You know, he thought he'd just seen off Savinho, who probably wasn't as quick, and now he's got a different proposition.
He has. Here come City. They've taken the corner short. It's with De Bruyne. He's going to drive to the edge of the box, and now Gundogan sweeps it in, headed away by Chalobah. He rose well to just nod it away from danger. These are nervous moments for Crystal Palace, and there's going to be a lot of them. We've still got 10 minutes of the 90 to go.
Somehow they have to move the ball up the pitch, Crystal Palace. They have to get some possession and not panic when they clear it, because that's what's been happening. Blind panic, just hashing it and hoofing it wherever. You've got to try and get a foothold in terms of possession.
Going to bring you some news from West Ham in a moment, when we had a break in play, so hang on to that in a second. But here come City, and an offside flag against Nunes. Free kick, Palace, who lead, who are drawing 2-2 with 10 minutes to go. Now, West Ham United have released a statement in the last few minutes, and it goes like this. West Ham United can confirm that striker Michail Antonio has today been involved in a road traffic accident. The thoughts and prayers of everyone at the club are with Michail, his family and friends at this time. The club will issue an update in due course. And that is all the statement reads. So that statement released 8 minutes ago by West Ham on their X feed. Here come Crystal Palace down the right. Ortega flies off his line and gathers it very quickly. Striker Michail Antonio involved in a road traffic accident. The thoughts and prayers of everyone at the club are with Michail, his family and friends at this time. The club will issue an update in due course. Our very best wishes to Michail and his family from BBC Radio London. But that information has come to light over the course of the last 10 minutes or so, and there'll be more as we get it here on the home of London football. 9 minutes of the 90 to go. Crystal Palace 2, Manchester City 2. Palace have taken the lead twice. City have responded twice, and they now are searching for a winner. Or maybe Palace can get a winner themselves. Nunes down the left, running at the edge of the penalty area, tries to get a cross in, and it's turned into the heels of Chalobah by Nunes. It's going to be another Manchester City corner. What we're not seeing from Palace at the moment, Paul, is the danger on the counter-attack. It's all City.
No, it's all City now. Doku's staying wide, Nunes staying wide, and they just keep knocking angle balls into them and getting them to drive at the fullbacks and get crosses in. That's basically what they're trying to do, to pen Crystal Palace back.
De Bruyne swings this one in, punched away by Henderson, gets good distance on it. Devaney can't pick up the loose ball. It's fed to Doku inside the penalty area, across the 6-yard box. It goes cleared by Munoz. It goes straight at Gahey, and they've still not got it clear. Mateta might be able to run this away, and now Devaney gets the afterburners on and races to the halfway line. Can Palace prosper here? Well, Devaney's been boxed in. He's completely on his own, actually. Clips it down the channel. Walker after it. Lerma can't get there, and back it goes to Ortega. A brief respite for Crystal Palace. Might not take long.
Well, as I said, I mean, Devaney has no support. No one showed a desire to actually go and support him. They all left him. 3 Man City players converged on him. But what he needed to do was get his head up and just knock it down the line. There were 2 Palace players, Mateta and I think might have been Lerma and Ketia, who were in.
Now, can Palace do something here? And Ketia takes a heavy touch, taken away from him. City back at Palace immediately. It's with Nunez in a central position wide to Bernardo Silva on that right-hand side. They've only made one change, City. That's Doku on for Savinho. Here's Walker high up the pitch for Manchester City. Every time Palace presented with an opportunity to get out, they've not really been able to do so.
No. And City, this is, like I said, this is how it's going to be for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Nunez has come over this side now on the right, and Doku's gone to his more familiar left hand where he can cut in, or he can go both ways actually, give Munoz a problem.
I don't know about you, Paul, but I've seen this film and I know the ending.
I always get up and leave before the ending.
Yeah, well, don't go.
I'm not going to go today, but yeah, you kind of know it, don't you?
Well, unless Palace can really kind of defy the odds, it's very difficult to do. Lewis skips into the box, and then Chalobah picks his pocket, and well, now there's a challenge on Chalobah. It's Rico Lewis, who's already been booked,
he's in a bit
and the
of trouble
referee is going to call Rico Lewis over.
Yep, he's gone.
And there might be another twist in the tail, another yellow and a red. Rico Lewis is sent off for a second bookable offence, a foul on Chalobah on the edge of the Crystal Palace box.
Yeah.
And well, a red card for Rico Lewis, the man who scored the second equaliser. And maybe this is a different film, Paul. Maybe they've remade it.
I think it's altogether possible. Oh, yep, he's caught him. There's no disputing that. It's a late challenge. It's one of those, if he doesn't get the ball, he's going to get the man. Yep, and it's a card. Jefferson Lerma should get a yellow card also for waving the imaginary flag.
Yes, yeah, I wonder if they'll catch
I don't
up.
like that.
I wonder if they'll catch up on
I hope they do. But the game becomes different now.
Now, as you say, the game is different. But how different? We've talked about Crystal Palace finding the balance all through the afternoon.
Yeah.
They must once again work out just how much to commit.
Right. Exactly right. And what they can't do is throw everything at it, because you know the quality that Man City have. You know the quality that Man City have. Now, can they use that spare man to their advantage?
I think Guardiola's gone to...
Yeah, they've gone into a back four.
Is there a... It's almost like a 5 at the moment, isn't it? Guardiola, Diaz, Walker and Nunez.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Right, yeah, that's a back 4.
Yeah, they'll go to a back 4.
Jack Grealish is coming on. There are 5 minutes to go. You're listening to BBC Radio London. The player withdrawn is going to be Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, De Bruyne's gone off. So that tells you they're settling. As much as Grealish is good going forward, this is about energy as well. Legs and energy, and De Bruyne maybe is fading. He's been out for a while. He won't be happy coming off, obviously, but... And I think Grealish is playing more in the middle, isn't he?
Yeah, we'll have to see how they sort of settle down. But yeah, do Palace go for it? What an opportunity. Here's Mitchell on the left-hand side, inside City territory. They're playing against 10 now because Rico Lewis has been sent off. Mitchell down the left, being well marshalled by Nunez. He's won a corner.
Good play. What they've got to do, Palace, is play their football. Is not doubt themselves. They don't have to overstretch and overcommit, but they've got to play their football. When they get it, they've got to get it wide, get crosses in, do the things they normally do that they haven't been doing this in this half.
Devaney to take it. They scored, Palace, from a corner earlier in the half. City with 10. De Bruyne is still making his way off the pitch because he's had to walk all the way round the White Horse Road end of the ground. Here's Devaney's corner, lifted into the box, it's headed away, straight back out to Devaney on that left-hand side. He's going to clip this towards the far post. Lerma jumping and swallowed up by Ortega. Let's go to Brentford and Phil Parry.
Well, it's still 3-2 to Brentford. Goal in the second half from Nathan Collins separating the two teams. They've also had Whistle with a couple of efforts denied by Pope. One pushed onto the post. Newcastle making all the running now. They've thrown on as many as they possibly can. Ben Mee on to try and tie things up for Brentford at the back. We've still got 4.5 minutes plus added time. Brentford lead 3-2.
Into the Championship, Millwall Coventry, Emily Herbert.
It's Millwall 0, Coventry 1 still. The only goal of the game coming from the 25-year-old Mason Clark. Millwall looking a little bit deflated. If they find an equaliser, the Lions will go 10 games unbeaten though. 5 minutes of extra time to get it. It's Millwall 0, Coventry City 1.
And at Loftus Road, QPR Norwich, Jacob Conshaw.
It remains QPR 3, Norwich City 0. Nick QPR's wait for a home win is almost over. Just got to see out the last 5 minutes or so, but they've been brilliant today. It remains QPR 3, Norwich City 0.
Free kick here to City inside their own half. So we'll go to Accrington Bromley and Mark Taylor.
1 minute of stoppage time left. It's still Accrington 1, Bromley 2. Accrington attack as I speak. Costello has been forced out wide. It's still Accrington 1, Bromley 2.
Palace defend this. Harrogate AFC Wimbledon's being watched by Chris Sykes.
Into the 5 minutes of stoppage time. Harrogate 0, AFC Wimbledon 3. It could be even more for the Dons. Nerfield, Smith and Stevens have all gone close in the second half. It's Harrogate 0, Wimbledon 3.
Thank you, Chris. It's 2-2 here at Selhurst Park between Crystal Palace and 10-man Manchester City. Back it goes to Ortega, away to our left. The Palace fans sense that there is still something to be squeezed out of the afternoon. An afternoon where the wind and the rain has, but it's going to go out for a City throw, no matter how much Daniel Munoz protests about it. City throw on the halfway line, 2 balls on the pitch. So the referee is going to have to tidy up. Good bit of footwork by Rob Jones to get it off the field. Palace in front twice, City pegging them back twice. Grealish, one of the substitutes, has hoisted this high. One in the air by Chalabar. Can Palace win this back? No, City are coming forward once again. Doku running through the middle of the field, gets it wide to Nunes on the right. They're going to be a bit concerned about overcommitting City, or are they? Have they got the players to do the damage? Doku gets away from his man. Bernardo Silva into the penalty area, loses it, and Devaney's going to run it clear. And here's Nketiah, takes another heavy touch, still going, but it gets away from Eddie Nketiah. The ball will not settle at his feet at the moment.
He's over, his first touch was decent, his second touch just overran it, and the moment was gone.
It's not been an easy first few months at Selhurst Park for Eddie Nketiah. This is BBC Radio London. It is 2-2 at Selhurst. Here's Munoz, goes long with this ball forward. Oh, it nearly drops to Mateta. And then he can't pick up the loose ball. Justin Devaney. Both these sides are just thinking to themselves, do you know what, we could just nick this. But with that runs the horrible risk of that 1 point you've currently got going down the drain.
Well, it is risk and reward. Do you want the reward? Because you might have to take a risk to get it.
Exactly.
But you got 11 players.
Yeah.
One team.
Well, you better get that. Almost obligates you to go for it. But of course, 4 minutes added time. Sorry, the fourth official's behind the pillar here at Selhurst Park. No, that's no excuse.
Well, he hasn't put a board up.
Has he not?
No, he's not. He's not put the board up.
Well, he
at all.
may have done it while we were watching the game. They tend to do it when they know no one's watching it. One of the peculiarities of being the fourth official, you have got one job. Goodness me. Here is Diaz breaking into the Palace box. It's a really good run, and it's gathered by Henderson at the near post. Haaland was behind him. Wants to distribute. There's no one really for him to aim at, though.
No, none of the. No, you look at all the Palace players. No one is shown a desire to run forward. And Nketiah was, but that was about it.
And we all know what. Eddie Nketiah, if he throws it to Nketiah, it's going to come back.
Oh, it's
ball down the channel
pass.
from Mitchell, straight to Nunes.
Poor pass. It's got to be better than that. That's not a good enough pass.
No, well, they're straight back at them, aren't they? So it's a great challenge by Chalabar. Brilliant. Steps in front of Grealish. Here's Mateta, the ball swirling in the air. You can see him trying to watch it. Here's Nketiah, away, down the left. He's got Carl Walker with him, and he's held him up.
He's not got the pace.
But even, these days, everyone can beat Carl Walker, can't
they? No, he's not got the pace. It'd have had to have been a quickie. Had it been Tyreek Mitchell, maybe it would have been different, but and Nketiah's not really got that pace.
Going to Brentford in a second. Here is Munoz down the right. We're playing the second minute of added on time. It's 2-2 at Selhurst Park on BBC Radio London. Funneled into Lerma. Now here's Hughes. He's going to lift this cross into Mitchell, who's gone round the back and it's headed away from Nunes, only as far as Mitchell inside the penalty. Devaney shoots, is blocked again. Goes out for a corner to Brentford. Phil Parry.
It's 4-2 to Brentford. Daylight in the darkness. Norgard to Mbeumo. Brilliant from the Cameroon, who turned in behind the Newcastle defence, filtered it towards Kevin Schade, who dinked it over the top of the advancing Nick Pope. It's Brentford 4, Newcastle 2.
Corner to Palace in stoppage time. Devaney takes it to the edge of the 6-yard box. It might find Gay. It's flicked away from danger. Grealish is going to run it away. We're in the 3rd minute of stoppage time. Free kick City on the edge of their own box. And a yellow card for Nketiah, I think.
Nketiah, it's a silly foul, really, because Grealish has got nowhere to go, if the truth be told. Really has nowhere to go. Just stay with him. He's not really got the ball under control. It was a poor tackle, by the way.
Yeah, well, he's gone in
poor
the book.
tackle.
And so Brentford winning in a blizzard of goals in the Premier League. Here it's 2-2. We've had nearly 3 minutes of the 4 the referee's assistant said they'd add on. Fulham, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea tomorrow on digital radio. Monday, Aaron Paul, 6 o'clock, London Stadium. West Ham against Wolves with special guest Johnny Jackson, and that free kick is shanked out of play by Stefan Ortega. Palace have possession inside their own half of the field. Do you have one last go at the 3 times champions? See if you can nick it late on against 10. Or maybe you do. Here's Gay surging forward. They've got men over on this side. One of them is Lerma. Players making their way into the box. Palace have moved infield to Hughes and now Chalobah. They've lost a bit of impetus here. Munoz, low cross, goes behind. It's another corner. Seconds left.
Well, it's about a set piece, about good quality. They had a good chance down the left-hand side to get the ball forward. For me, teams now pass backwards too often for me. They want to play this risk-free football, but here's a chance.
They scored from a corner just like this one already, Crystal Palace. Devaney's going to take it left-footed, so it'll bend in. Lacroix forward, it comes in towards the near post, headed away as far as Hughes, who goes in with Doku's won it, and the referee has stopped the game. And the points are shared. A handshake between Oliver Glasner and Pep Guardiola. Both of these two sides have had pretty dicey spells, to be perfectly honest with you. Kyle Walker's getting in the referee's face about something, I don't quite know what. But they have fought out a splendid Premier League fixture here at Selhurst Park. Pep Guardiola making his way onto the field of play as well. Rico Lewis sent off towards the end to make it even more dramatic. Palace kept taking the lead. They did so in the first half through Daniel Munoz after just 4 minutes. Haaland's header cancelled that one out. And then Maxence Lacroix headed his first Crystal Palace goal after 11 minutes in the second half to put them 2-1 up, and Rico Lewis with the equaliser halfway through that second period. There's a bit of chat going on the field afterwards. The referees are getting involved. No one seems particularly happy with what's going on. Paul, what is the have you been able to spot exactly what the problem is?
Well, I think it's possibly about the sending off, because that can be the only contentious decision, I have to say. And for me, I'm not saying it was a sending off. Was it a booking? Yes.
Yes, of course it was.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Did he get the ball? No. Did he get Chalobah's foot? Yes. In the context of where he was in the game, it's a yellow card. First one you might moan about, but the second one, definite. He's frustrated, Guardiola, because he's expecting to win this. There's absolutely no dispute in that. Expect them to win this, and it hasn't happened. He's dropped points after beating Forest comprehensively midweek. He's dropped points. He's not going to be happy with this.
Well, once again, Crystal Palace failed to score more than 2 and failed to let in more than 2 as well. What a funny game. Crystal Palace 2, Manchester City 2.
BBC Radio London.
The home of London football.
Take you so much to Paul Mortimer and Nick Godwin. Back with them after 5 o'clock on BBC Radio London. 40 goals have now been scored at the G-Tech Community Stadium in 8 league games. Count them, 40, and Brentford have scored the vast majority of them. Yet again this afternoon, an extraordinary performance by beating Newcastle 4-2. Twice they led in the first half through Brian Mbeumo and Yohan Wissa. That was cancelled out though by Newcastle United very, very quickly after going behind. Isak and Barnes with the goals. Nathan Collins put Brentford ahead in the second half after a long rangy free kick from Mark Flecken was guided into the back of the net, and then late on Brian Mbeumo set up Sharda for yet another goal here at the G-Tech Community Stadium. He even had time, did Mbeumo, to rob the ball of Nick Pope a long way out and guide it goalwards, only for Dan Burn to clear it off the goal line. It could have been even more spectacular. 22 points picked up from a possible 24 at home this season. It has been a great fortress, and it's the first time they've beaten Newcastle United in the Premier League. The Newcastle fans applaud their players. The Brentford fans are ready to party again. This is where you come for entertainment and more extraordinary stuff. Let's go around our other grounds as well on BBC Radio London, shall we? It's full time at the Den. Emily Herbert.
It is. Millwall have lost their 9-game unbeaten run. It's finished Millwall 0, Coventry City 1. The only goal of the game from 25-year-old Mason Clark. Clipped up, hit the inside of the crossbar and swung into the back of the net. A huge effort though from the Lions in the last 5 minutes of extra time. 4 corner kicks, one after another. Femi Aziz wasn't able to find a late equaliser like he did against Sunderland last time they were here, and Frank Lampard picks up his first win as the Sky Blues boss, who has just received a massive cheer from the travelling fans to my left. It's finished here, Millwall 0, Coventry City 1.
Thank you very much, Emily. Let's go into League 2 then, shall we? Accrington Stanley against Bromley. Mark Taylor.
And Bromley enjoying what they do at the Wham Stadium. Accrington 1, Bromley 2. Michael Cheek put the Ravens in front after Cameron Congreve had done the running. Ben Woods equalised for the home side with an angled effort almost immediately afterwards. It was left to Idris Oduteo to win it for Bromley in the second half. He curled over a free kick and it went straight in. It's a third successive 2-1 win for the Ravens. Accrington 1, Bromley 2.
And victory for AFC Wimbledon as well today, away at Harrogate. Chris Sykes.
Yes, Harrogate Town 0, AFC Wimbledon 3. AFC Wimbledon back in the playoff places after a 4th straight away win in all competitions. Josh Kelly put them ahead after just 11 minutes, his first league goal of the season. John Joe O'Toole doubled it 12 minutes later, before Matty Stevens added a third just after half-time. It could have been more. Stevens had a disallowed goal for a foul. Josh Nerfill and Alistair Smith both denied by James Belshaw in the Harrogate goal. Now, with injuries depleting the squad, it makes this victory in the wind and the rain all the more impressive. Full-time Harrogate 0, AFC Wimbledon 3.
And I think it's all over at Queen's Park Rangers as well. Jacob Coleshaw.
QPR 3, Norwich City 0. Phil Christmas has come early at Loftus Road. Their wait for a home win is finally over, and crucially, Marty Cifuentes' side move out of the bottom 3. Jimmy Dunn got things rolling midway inside the first half, poking the ball home after a scramble from a corner. But the story here is all about Ryan Colley. Colley was tasked for 12 minutes to be the number 9 after Zancella went off injured, and boy did he deliver. His first professional goal in QPR's second came just before the break. Powell swung in a delicious delivery. Colley times run to perfection and head into the net. The third goal started and finished with one of QPR's own early in the second half. He robbed Callum Doyle in possession, drove towards Angus Gunn and slammed the ball past his near post. He almost even had a hat-trick, but 2 curling efforts just crept past the fast post. But it's a day he won't forget. It's a huge step for Marty Cifuentes' side, and the R's move out of the bottom 3. QPR 3, Norwich City 0.
BBC Radio London,
The home of London football.
Saturday Sport.
The far post, we're here till 6 o'clock, uploading, introducing at 6 with Alice and Jess. We're going to reflect on today's football as well. Igor Thiago leading the celebrations at the west end of the ground, the Brentford end of the ground. He was pushed forward to celebrate with the fans with Freed from Desire, because Brentford have won here by 4 goals to 2 and climbed towards the edge of the top 6 again in the Premier League. Crystal Palace get themselves a share of the spoils against Manchester City. City took an early lead but were pegged back a couple of times by City, who were reduced to 10 men in that game, but a 2-2 draw for Crystal Palace. Would you have taken it, Palace fans, before the start of the game? I don't know, maybe not. Aston Villa beat Southampton, who still sit at the foot of the table by a 0-0. In the Championship, Millwall lose their unbeaten record, beaten by Coventry City at home by a 0-0. But QPR continue to improve. 8 points now picked up since resumption after the international break. A 3-0 thrashing of Norwich City at home this afternoon. The first home win of the campaign for Marty Cifuentes' side. And a big win that was too. In League One, Charlton sit very, very mid-table after a 0-0 draw with Lincoln City. But Leyton Orient end a very positive week with another victory, this time away from home at Wigan Athletic. In League Two, very good news for both of our sides, with Bromley building on that midweek first home win of the season with a win away from home at Accrington Stanley, and AFC Wimbledon put 3 past Harrogate Town to taste victory themselves. We'll get reaction to all of our games between now and 6 o'clock as well, after what has been another eventful day on BBC Radio London Sport.